Little one, and I need someone so high.
Wash away the toxicity.
With my brush on, and yeah, the candles burning, and yeah, the candles burning, and it's time for you to join the current. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friends. Burning the mouth and hoping never.
Hustle and grind culture is another version of it. I can sleep when I'm dead. You'll be dead.
It's showtime. Come in and have a drink with our whole crew. Come on then, join the panel or chill from the chat. Do it how you wanna do. The misfit goods keep the whole chat lit. Ooh, and soon you'll be a part of it too. So come back again, my friend, or we'll come find you. Here we go again.
What's up?
Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Letting love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll be back again. Now let's make one thing clear. Because of you is why we're here. You give us life, you give us love. That is why we want you dear to our heart. Come and join the show, cause we need you to grow. So pull up a chair and share with us all of the things you know. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Burning the love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll come back again.
And like the song say, hey, don't, I will come find you. Easy way. With a hard way.
Amazing.
I got my own platform. If I got something to say, I hit my live button, ho.
Yeah. Of course, I'll leave that up. I forgot. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Critically Drinking. Listen, man, it's been a rough week. I know the thumbnail said 3 o'clock. I'm going to tell y'all what, though. The electricity was out for like 10,000 people in my city Friday. I had a cancellation Saturday. I got a cancellation for tomorrow. So I'm like, I want to get this stream out now because something's going to happen. Something's going to happen before the day's over. And I'll never get it out. I was supposed to do this a long time ago, but I didn't have my thoughts fully together. But today, I believe I have everything laid out quite nicely. But I do want to greet everybody that did come in. I appreciate everybody that can pop in for an early bird special. We got Dury Meta in the building. My guy, Dury Seats. We got N.A. Nia in the building. Appreciate you for coming through. And we got Nova Rain, who I tried to catch sleeping. But, you know, he ain't narcoleptic no more. He's been delivered. It's giddy. So listen. Now, I was talking to Yella a second ago. And he was like, man, every time you try to quit, something pulls you back in. And he's right. But I'm going to try to get a couple of streams out before I take some time off, like me time, like me doing these solo streams. I'm going to try to take some time off of that. Me and Bree will be moving to Mondays at 5 p.m. And we're still doing the Barcade Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Both of those are Eastern time. But my little solo ventures, I may be, you know, I've been falling back on them. And I probably am. But I want to get these last couple out in the month of August, especially. I want to get this stuff out in August to honor the support that you guys have given the channel this month. Because next month, I may not be on too often by myself. You know what I'm saying? So just want to let y'all know that up front. Thank you for everything. But about the thumbnail. Now, a while back, when Danae Jackson was on a podcast, Hey Future Wifey, and I watched it. Tristan watched it, and we were in Discord talking about it. And I wanted to talk about it then, but I didn't have my thoughts fully formed. And Bree and Candadan was like, "No, don't do it. No, don't do it. You ain't got nothing important to say. Why y'all gotta talk about women?" I'm like, "Listen, I just got an opinion, and she's not as innocent as she comes across." But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let it go. I'm not quitting again. I'm never not quitting. Like, I don't quit quitting. So I'm not quitting again. I've never quit quitting. You feel me? So, but I was going to leave it alone because I felt more passionate about it at that time. So I've had time to calm down. But I was listening to a very excellent breakdown on narcissism from a guy, Nelson Media. I know he's some type of counselor. I do not know his credentials. I do not know his background or credentials, but I know he talks a lot about narcissism. A lot. But I was watching this live stream. It's very insightful. He picks apart Derek Jackson's words and behaviors and all this. It's masterful. I put it on the community tab because I thought it was great. But I know, right? I know. I want to get this out the way for something else happens, like, because I'm still having a trajectory of Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong is. I had to turn my computer off and on 3 times for it to even boot up. So I'm like, I'm going to get this out of the way, and then I'm just going to, like, disappear. I'm going to the moon. I'm leaving. I don't know where I'm going, but I got to do something. But let me get this out the way. So when I saw that breakdown, I'm like, that's great. But he kept calling this man a monster and evil. And I was like, that's interesting. A monster, evil. So I was like, okay. And everybody, y'all seen enough of these dating podcasts, these dating shows. Every man in the world is a narcissist. I'm a narcissist. My daddy's a narcissist. My nephew's a narcissist. If you got a little brother or a son, he's maybe 6 years old, he's a narcissist, guaranteed. I'm prophesying. Some woman's going to call him a narcissist before his life is over. Guaranteed, because, man, all of us, if we exhibit any negative behavior, we're a narcissist. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't narcissists out there. I'm not even saying that the narcissists aren't a higher percentage than they say. They say like 1 to 5% of people are narcissists. It's probably higher. Me and Bree did a stream that the American culture, our forms of capitalism, are creating more people with dark triad traits: narcissism, sociopathy, and Machiavellianism, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today. And I'm going to get into a little bit of the Derek and Danae, but I want to actually talk to you about the dualistic nature of dysfunctional relationships and functional. It's the same thing. One side of the coin is a functional relationship. One side of the coin is dysfunctional. They mirror each other. There's a coexistence. So it's weird. It's weird. But if you only find wrongdoing in one party in a relationship, you're probably not looking hard enough, or you're just not looking at all. Because I found some stuff. And again, I'm going to lay out my case. Lots of clinicians talk about what narcissism is. A lot of TikTok therapists, a lot of YouTube licensed people. And I know, though, that people who are educated in very specific schools of thought, that school of thought trains your thought pattern. So anything that is outside of that thought pattern that is you're trained on, it's hard for you to pick up. What's up, OG Patrice in the building? Hello. And I know how arrogant it is for a guy with a GED to come on and say, hey, I think a lot of clinicians and professional people with years of experience are missing something. I know it sounds pretty arrogant to me, but I do want to plead my case with you guys today. I do want to plead my case, and hopefully it makes sense. So I have stitched together some things that I'm going to kind of react to, something that I've cobbled together here. In the beginning. So hopefully you guys can see this. Let me see. Do I need to go bigger? Am I missing nothing? Nope. Cool. Fits perfectly. So all of us, you've heard me talk about attachment styles. If you've listened to me for any length of time, you've heard me mention attachment styles for about the last year. I want to say about the last year when I first heard the term attachment styles. All of us learn how to form attachments to friends, family, loved ones growing up. I know you can read that yourself, but not all of us learn equally, because some of y'all are listening and not watching. So I'm reading that for the sake of people who may be doing two things. I'm going to read this out loud. But not all of us learned equally healthy ways of relating to people. So like when I said there is dysfunctional and then there's functional, there's two ways. The family systems and the environments that we grew up in demonstrate to us how to form bonds. They create function or dysfunction. That's where attachment styles start to form. Mr. He said in the building. This is also another reason I wanted to hurry up and get my stream out of the way. Because I'm like, oh shoot, I went ahead and moved my stream back a day. But I'm like, Mr. He said does Cerebro on Saturday. I didn't see a thumbnail, but I'm gonna go ahead and get mine out the way because I think you typically go in about 4 p.m. Eastern. I should be out of here in about an hour anyway. And I want to get my day and everything. It's been a week. It's been a week. But attachment styles, y'all. Next slide, please. Boom. While some people learned how to have healthy attachments to people in our lives, others learned codependency based on how they were treated and cared for or neglected. This is what psychologists refer to as attachment theory. And for y'all that don't know, let me give y'all a dictionary term. Let me codependency. Should have had this ready. Let me give y'all the definition. I don't want to just come off the top with this one because a lot of people use these words. So let's get the definition. Codependency is a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem. This word will come up quite a bit today. Low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval. You're going to hear this quite a bit today. These two things. So codependency, low self-esteem, low self-worth, low value. I may say it different ways. And strong desire for approval. I may say seeking approval. I may say people pleasing. So I just want to get y'all to hear. I'm probably going to say, well, come on through, Yellow. I see you. Come on, player. Come on, player. Strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another person. He's going what? Go ahead.
I was saying, no, I was just gonna say, speaking of low self-esteem and seeking people's approval, what's going on, y'all? How you doing?
You stupid. Yeah. You're stupid. Greg Bryan in the building.
Carry
what
on.
is up, my guy? Appreciate you. So somebody that has low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval, they typically have an unhealthy attachment to another person who is often controlling or manipulative. So inside of the relationship dynamic, if it's dysfunctional, this is typically the balance. You're going to hear me talk about one up, one down later. You're going to hear me bring up that transactional theory, which is talked about the parent-child dynamic. So there's one who's controlling, like a parent or somebody who's up in the power dynamic, manipulative, because again, control, manipulation, those are very synonymous. Then you got somebody who is controlled, who is manipulated because they desire approval. They have low self-esteem. So they're going to seek out somebody with high self-esteem, high power, high agency. So that's how that dualism works inside of a relationship. But that's how faulty attachments begin. Give me a second. Come on, move along. I should have made them 3 seconds long since I'm pausing. Boom. Now, if caregivers were absent, dismissed your emotions, or taught you that you need to act a specific way to earn love and approval, there's a good chance you may be codependent in your relationships. Now, I would say, for me, I have my dismotions missed a lot. So I just know my emotional needs were not tended to. So I know I am extra needy with needing my emotions validated. So I don't request it, but I make sure anybody I'm dealing with make sure that I'm not going to get my feelings dismissed. Like, no, I'm not irrational. I'm not crazy. I know what I'm feeling. Like, you're not going to dismiss my existence. So now I fight for that because of the way I was groomed and raised and what I was deficient in and my attachment issues. So, I mean, that's just an example. Everybody's going to look a little different. It's going to be tweaked here and there. So everybody's formed differently based upon who was in your life and your personal temperaments and dispositions. All of this stuff matters. Let me see. If they taught you needed to act a specific way to earn love and approval, there's a good chance that you may be codependent. And let me see. If I'm in a relationship, me personally, because of that, having my feelings dismissed, I probably will be a little more on the, it's not clingy. I'm not clingy, but the seeking approval, I want confirmation. Like that, like did you like almost like a child. It's that child wound. It'll be like, did you like that? Did you like that gift? I will do that. So I will seek that approval. I will need that feedback. I kind of do that with you guys. You guys have seen it with me streaming. Like, okay, what did you think about this? Y'all have seen or heard me say something where I'm trying to make sure that what I'm doing please the person I'm doing it for. So you'll see me act that principle out, even in this dynamic. Let me see. Children who grow up to be codependent tend to grow up in families where they did get a certain amount of good, loving contact, hugging, kissing, rocking, and holding from a parent. However, at other times, the parent was not emotionally available to them. This psychotherapist explains. We're very pleased. I don't like the way you said that. In other words, let's try to get this stuff connected. In other words, the child would feel emotionally abandoned by the parent at times. This naturally produces a lot of anxiety around a fear of abandonment when this child becomes an adult. Thankfully, abandonment wasn't my thing. It was distance. Therefore, codependent people learn to put the needs of others ahead of their own and will sacrifice their needs and principles in order to maintain relationships. So going back to that codependency thing, you are going to put the other person, the person who has the controlling, manipulative nature, the person who has the power, the person who has the high self-esteem, you're going to pedestalize them. You're going to try to get your feelings met through them to keep the relationship going. So if all conditions confirm your theory, is that an issue? Can you restate that question? Because I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. I understand the words in English, but I'm not sure what they're trying to get to. So I don't even know where to take it. So all conditions confirm your theory, because I don't have a theory myself. Is that an issue? I'm not sure. Just on face value, if all conditions confirm a theory, it's no longer a theory. It's a rule. But that's just me taking the question on face value, but I'm sure that's not what you mean by that. But what does that look or sound like?
The purpose of dating is get to know somebody and get to practice safety and get to practice compatibility, get to practice intimacy. And over the last 36 months, you have come to realize, I don't want this life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want somebody who, A, is going to be so utterly controlling in a way that makes no logical or rational sense, right? This is different if you call me and be like, I just want to go to the bar, dude. I only go 4 nights a week, and she wants me home with her. I would say you're a moron, right? That's not the case here.
Right.
This is power and control. The other side of the coin here is if you got somebody who you love, who's struggling with mental health issues and physical issues, and is not doing everything they can in their power to go get well, to do the things they need to do to be whole.
Okay.
Then they're ultimately making a choice for the type of relationship they want to have.
Boom. Now, right there, he's talking about somebody being controlling. That's the person that's one up. It's not the guy on the phone with them. The guy on the phone with them is seeking help because he can't get the relationship how he wants it. He feels powerless. He's one down. He's the dependent person. He's the codependent person. But the other person is exerting control in every decision. If you're in a relationship, every decision speaks something. It communicates something. If somebody is not going to get help and they do have an issue on the one up or the one downside, if they're controlling and manipulative, or if they're a perpetual victim, all of those things are problematic in a relationship dynamic. All of those are not necessarily healthy states. And if nobody's willing to address the issues when a partner brings it up, they're making a decision that their dysfunction is more important, or their comfort in that dysfunction is more important than maintaining that relationship with you. All this stuff talks. All our decisions talk. He said kids who got attention and kids who were neglected both become. I don't think that's what he said. Because I'm sure nobody said you will become. Because your sentence almost says like it's inevitable. But I'm pretty sure what I read out loud did not say that. Let me see. Pachella, what you I know, because again, I was prepared to do this myself. So I'm gonna awkwardly throw you in every now and then. So be prepared for that awkward pitch. but how do you? I know you typically come with a different perspective, especially on this type of stuff, on the codependency, on like the power dynamics. How do you see power dynamics playing out in both, and you know what I'm saying, in relationships?
I mean, as far as relationships go, I mean, it's like any in it. If we talking about just like romantic relationships, I feel like there is a weird need for a power dynamic. Like I get it. It's good functional wise, but sometimes shit just gotta be what it's gotta be. You know what I'm saying? And what if both people ain't able to kind of pick up and take over nowadays, then it's just gonna be a lot of people by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Now what I do see is the power dynamic has become, the less I have to do, the more powerful I am. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I see us falling off. Because it seems like the person who thinks they have to give less somehow has more control. When it's supposed to be like shared control, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's going to differ. So I'm going to just, now that I understand what Greg is saying, perfect. Both can become codependent. So if all conditions confirm your theory, is that an issue? Yes. And I'll use weight as the example of this. Somebody who is overfed will have an issue. Somebody who is underfed will also have an issue. So malnutrition and I guess overnutrition are both an issue. So it's not that all conditions confirm your theory. Anything that's outside of a balanced state can become an issue, will probably become an issue. That's just the nature of balance, equilibrium, homeostasis. If you're not in a state where things are balanced out equally, which is what most people either in function or dysfunction, which we're going to talk about, because we're talking about people who they found a balance in dysfunction. Somebody who is passive is probably going to seek out somebody who is assertive or aggressive to balance out their passivity. It's just something people do. You hear people talk about it all the time. I know Enrico, he would talk about, I'm glad my wife had to be good at handling money because I'm going to just spend that shit. That's what he would say. I'm going to just spend it. So she had to be good at money. That's a balancing out. One person's a minus, one person's a plus, one up, one down in that domain. And we typically do that in different domains. Somebody's more aggressive here or more capable here. Somebody's less capable. And we balance it out. Those balances are what people seek, even if they're not aware of it. A lot of times in relationships. Polarity. It's another way to say it. Absolutely. Q quantum. Quantum need to come in. You said polarity. That's a quantum word. Hey, but I hope that answers your question, Greg. Let me see. But does that mean the cause is not related to the effect? I agree with boundaries being good. I'm less convinced on the childhood causes theory. Well, then what would, Greg? What would? If people reach adulthood with an inability to maintain healthy relationship dynamics, where did they pick it up at? If you reach 18 plus and you're incapable of handling adult relationships, where did you pick it up? So it's either pre-birth or birth through 18, which is childhood. So I'm not sure where you would say these things got corrupted, these bad practices got adopted. But I would say it's safe to assume that if people reach adulthood and are incapable of empathy, of reciprocity, of some basic respect, communication, if they reach the age of 18 and are incapable of these things, I would say these things came from childhood, because I can't speak to what came before childhood. What happens before the womb, I can't speak to. So I would say it happens during childhood. I believe, for me, that's a safe assumption. I can't prove it, but for me, that's a safe assumption.
You get to decide what your life looks like.
Right.
And you get to decide beyond what it looks like in terms of the size of the house or size of car, something like that. You get to decide the warmth and the air inside of your home. Is it electric and charged and chaotic, or is coming home a place of peace? Both you and the person you marry get to choose that. And we get so lost with our diagnostics and our thises, and I've got this and this happened to me. Cool. I get to walk in my front door and decide how this place is going to be. And I'm going to work every plan I can come up with. I'm going to do everything I can to create that space. And then you look at the person you're thinking about marrying and saying, will you create that space with me?
Boom. Yeah. And we just have to make educated guesses. I mean, because we're not actually inside the brain of anybody. So we have to make educated guesses. So it's an educated guess to say, well, if these people are reaching the age of 18 and can't do it, then it happened in childhood. Now, sure, it could have been baked into their DNA. But, I'm not a geneticist. So I'm going to assume, and I feel safe in doing so, that it's childhood. Actually, there's an equation for what happened before childhood. Without a condom, 1 + 1 = 3. That's ignorant. I can't stand you. But I saw you do like a hand. Were you getting ready to jump in, Yellow?
No, I was just listening in, man. You rolling? I'm not really disagreeing with what he's saying so far. So.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people fail to understand. A lot of times, if you listen to these people, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, it really doesn't matter. If they're talking about relationships, somewhere in what he just said about two people making a decision and putting effort into the relationship, that's typically the 2 points where it's going to break down. One person, if somebody's online complaining about their relationship or relationships in general, they typically have a lack of agency in one of those two spaces. Either one, they don't feel capable and competent to make a decision about how they want their life to go. They feel a victim to circumstances. They're letting the other person lead. They're the one down. They're the codependent party. Or, let me see, what was it? They don't feel capable and competent to make the decision. I can't even remember what the other thing was. It left me just that quick. Or or the other person. I don't know. I don't know what I was getting ready to say. That left me, but I'm going to go ahead and hit play.
And the hard part is what you're telling me is she has said, no, I'm good. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And by the way, so are freaking you. You are too.
And that's something you have to be prepared for. The other person may not want to participate, or they may start wanting to participate and they may check out. That's just a reality. That's something we have to accept. And being a red pill dude and whining about it, yeah, it was all exciting at first, and then y'all got into a normal routine and she got bored and she left. Well, man, that's the price of doing business. It just happens. It can happen to the man, it can happen to the woman. That's a dynamic. If neither person was able to communicate, like, hey, you know what, this isn't as fun or exciting as I thought it would be, or nobody's able to put in the work to try to spruce things up, make it more exciting, add some variety. If nobody's willing to do the work and they're unwilling to communicate, because believe it or not, I would say at least 7 or 8 out of every 10 people are just too scared to tell the truth to the person that they're laying down with routinely. They're too scared to communicate honestly. That's the first problem. 70 to 80%, too scared to talk to the person truthfully. A lot of people are even scared to talk to the people they're having sex with about sex, which is crazy. But that's where we are. If you can't communicate, you're never going to address anything. And even if you do communicate, you have to be willing to put in the effort to change the dynamic. So how could that guy on the phone, how could he end up in a relationship like that? Next slide, please. Boom. Now, again, this goes back to attachment theory. We all have a way we carry ourselves physically in the world, the way we stand, like our temperament, our dispositions, the way we stand, talk, look, our nonverbal communication. In theater improvisation, we call this our status. In this case, status doesn't refer to having money or a fancy job title, but rather the importance a person is perceived as having in relationship to others. The high status person. Next slide. What is that? Give me a second. This thing has got a little bit of lag on it. I think it's got super lag. Give me a second. Boom. The high status person is perceived as having more power, dominance, confidence, and ownership of the space or interaction. All right, he's having signal issues. I am too. I keep seeing myself free. So glad I tried to get this out early because man, later it's probably gonna be worse. The high status person is perceived as having more power, dominance, confidence, and ownership of the space or interaction. The low status person is more submissive, less sure, and defers to the high status. In relationships, it is a relational seesaw of changing statuses between partners. And again, that's something else to keep a note of. Not everybody's going to be dominant in every area. It's okay for a person to be in charge of this thing and the other person to be in charge of something else. We keep trying to make these really hard, rigid rules, especially about gender. Like we had an argument about a man can't wash dishes because he's a man. That's a woman's job. And a woman can't take out trash. That's a man's job. Some of this stuff, we get so granular about some of the goofiest things that are really not important. The importance is that somebody is going to take the lead in something. Somebody has to be the person to move. If there's action required, somebody's going to have to be the person to move. It doesn't really matter which one it is, unless somebody's incapable. It makes sense. This is utilitarianism. You know, the ism show, utilitarianism. It makes sense for the person that has the most utility, the person who's most capable to do something, to do it. If you had to fix a car, it wouldn't make sense to send one of the kids. It would make sense to send a person that knows how to fix the car. That's basic utilitarianism. Basic. What makes the most sense? What will work the most effectively? What's the most efficient thing to do here? It's very basic thought process and logic, but a lot of us seem to, man, I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. We get weird. We get weird about stuff. Not sure. And emotions, unspoken expectations, a lot of times get in the way of those realizations, of that communication. Just waiting for the slide to change because it is a nice little bit of lag. It is not moving. There we go. Boom. Each of us has our preferred status. And right now, this is socialization here. A lot of men in our culture feel like they have to be on the high status end of the relationship. I gotta lead. You gotta submit. This is what they're talking about. That conversation is about this right here. Who's going to be on the top end of the power dynamic? What they don't understand is there's no way physically, it's not physically possible for you to inhabit the top end of the power dynamic in your family across all domains, because eventually you probably have to go work. You have to go make money. Guess who's going to be on the high end of the power dynamic when you're away? Not you, because you can't inhabit all spaces at all times. It's not possible. It's not possible. So again, let me go back to this. Each of us has our preferred status, and with each interaction, we move between the two statuses. Although usually playing our default status, that's the one that's going to come with your attachment style, the ones you got groomed into. You know, people get these stories and narratives that they shape their lives off of. Well, I'm the baby. I'm the baby. Everybody takes care of me. I get whatever I want. That's a status. That's what Yellow's talking about. They do the least and get the most. They feel powerful. A lot of times those people run off that I'm the baby. I got spoiled. I'm the princess. I'm the whatever. That's a story and a narrative that they have built a status off of. Or some other one. Maybe they're the victim. I was the middle child. I ain't get nothing. My older sister, my older brother got everything. My little brother got everything. I'm always giving and I never get anything back. They're always the one down. They're the powerless one. They're the one that's going to seek somebody higher status to bridge that gap. Each of us has a preferred status, and with each interaction, we move between the two statuses. Now, this is more of a functional conversation here. You can move between the statuses. People who are rigid about the statuses are not functional, although usually playing our default status. Over time, we become very good at playing one status, but not very happy or competent in playing the other. The positions are often referred to in the world of In the world of psychology, now I paused it, so I bet it's going to hang for a minute. Give me a second. Often referred to in the world of psychotherapy as going one up and one down. Again, power dynamic, one up, one down. Low status usually corresponds with the one down position. High status parallels with the one up position. Each position offers defense, compensation, and protections, as well as gains and losses. Now, this is where it gets tricky and people have a hard time recognizing. Let me see. I wish those of low status were submissive, but they keep robbing me instead. I can't stand you. That's low social status. I can't stand you. Low economic status. But we're talking about relational status. And just so you know, this is not just romantic. This is in any interaction with another human being. Power dynamics are at play. Almost all the time. Almost all the time. There's a status structure. It is sort of complex, but it's based on how other people respond to you in society. It's how attractive people know they are attractive. Absolutely. The women rob me too. Yeah. So we got one up, one down, low status, high status. But that's the part I want to talk. The last sentence. Each position offers defense, compensation, and protection, as well as gains and losses. This is something that we'll hear when it comes to race, when it comes to gender. That sentence right there is where a lot of people fail to think through what they're critiquing. No matter what position you're in, it offers some level of defense. So everybody be like, white privilege. Everybody has a privilege. Or they'll be like, patriarchy. But everybody has an advantage under patriarchy. It's not the same. They're not all equal. But everybody has something that they can cling to, some level of protection under these systems. There are benefits and there are costs. Being able to see all of those are important to have an accurate or useful conversation. Nobody's purely a victim. It's rare to find a pure victim, and it's rare to find a pure villain. It's very rare. That's just a transaction. Which is where we're going to get into, because you don't have a lot of true monsters, and you don't have a lot of true victims out here. But if you listen to these people talk, you would think that there are. I like that they say that both sides have gains and losses, because too often we just say one up position is higher in all categories. Yeah, exactly. Because like people like white privilege. Well, we hear people complain about the things that black people get away with all the time. Or then how the Asian or black people complain about how the Asian hate bill got passed, but we're still waiting on the anti-lynching law for 100 years. Everybody has some domain where they get some privilege. Some have more, some get more than others. It's not equally distributed. I'm not saying that it's equal. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody has some domain where they have the privilege. Everybody has some domain where they're holding the L. That's just how life is. And if you can't see that, if you're always the victim, you've lost sight of reality. If you're always the top dog, you're always the alpha. I'm the alpha all the time. I control everything. You've lost sight of reality. You're gone. Never trust someone who is always the hero victim. Absolutely. Because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Not in the normal everyday scenarios where people are navigating through life. Now, if somebody just kidnaps somebody off the street, there is a villain and there is a victim, and it's clear cut. But in a normal thing where two people are interacting and they're both free persons and they can navigate to and from that situation on their own volition, there's no typical victim and villain. There are two people in a power dynamic, and somebody typically comes out on top through circumstance or through manipulation in some kind of way. Status is relational. Let me just make sure I can read that right. Status is relational. When you play one status, you are essentially casting your partner in the other status. Now, that's another thing I've talked about when we talked about transactional analysis, like the parent-child. If I try to son you, like if I try to put you in your place is typically beneath me. So the moment I try to start speaking down to you or telling you what you should do, I'm taking the authority role, which means I'm already casting you in the subordinate role, as if you have to do what I say. That's automatic. That's implied, which is why you'll see so many conversations online and somebody like, you're talking down to me. Like, you're talking down to me. And they'll be like, no, I'm not. No. Matter of fact, I think it happened here. I'm going to make fun of Conscious a little bit. I'm like, you're condescending. How was that condescending? I wasn't condescending. But you were. You were saying that I don't know something. I'm speaking down on your position. You are ignorant of the things that I know. I'm the authority on this subject. You know less because of your experience or choices. That's a power dynamic. The moment you put somebody in that dynamic, whether you're intentionally doing so or not, you're putting them in a lower position. You don't know what I know. You haven't done what I've done. You ain't got as many views as me. You ain't got as many subs as me. You're putting someone in a lower category. But again, a lot of people aren't thinking when they do this stuff. It's automatic. It's a reflex. These are social conditionings. Let me see. I'm going to be real. I see one more white woman doing the Taylor Swift women can't do anything right nonsense. I'm going to start my villain art. Do it, Greg. Do it. Let me see. So you're essentially casting your partner in the other status. And again, this is not always relational. If you're two coworkers and one person starts speaking up about, okay, this is what we're going to do, they've taken the authority role. So the other person stops and listens. Now, the other person, if it's a collaboration, they'll speak up with their ideas and the other person will fall back. That's the seesaw effect. Coworkers, friends, lovers, this dynamic is persistent. And if it's better if you're aware of it and playing an active role in it, as opposed to it just happening based on conditioning from when you were a kid. Like, you don't want it to go down like that. Most people naturally make status shifts when communicating, like I was just talking about. Yeah, when one partner is too rigid, I'm always the alpha, I'm the leader. No, I can't never fall back. Excuse me. And doesn't shift between statuses, it creates a feeling of rigidness or uncomfortableness. I'm the alpha, I'm the leader. You got to do what I say. Then the women get uncomfortable. I feel like submission is slavery because you'll never let me take the lead. You're too rigid. You don't shift between statuses. You won't allow me to have my agency and autonomy. You just want to enslave me. That's what makes people rebel against it. Submission. That's why that happens. Because people are too rigid in their thinking. They don't know how to shift between statuses, even though it's incapable. You're incapable. Any human is incapable of inhabiting the power, the top of the hierarchy in all domains of life. It's not possible. It's not possible. And everybody knows that. Everybody can sense it. Even if you don't think through it, you can sense it. It doesn't make sense, especially anybody that goes to a job. You can't be the top dog at your job. Somebody's paying you. You got to wait for a check. So everybody can sense it, even if they never had words for it. We kind of feel it, and everybody like, somebody, you want to come home and be the boss, but I know you complain about work, about how you taking all these L's. Like we get those feelings. A lot of times we can't articulate it. Let me see real quick. Did I read that last sentence? Inflexible status players are less fun to talk with because they constantly constrict their partner to only one status. Yes. If she sub in the sheets, she can dom in the street. Hey, listen, that's an important thing too. I know Bree has talked about that many times. If you're going to adhere to these very rigid social standards, hierarchies, gender roles, if you're going to do that, then it makes sense to at least be able to, within the confines of your own home, the privacy of your own home, to be able to play with those dynamics more freely if you're going to operate in such a rigid social structure. Because the mind is going to crave somebody's going to feel, whoever's taking the L's, it's going to mount up. Those L's count. They start stacking up like Tetris. Those L's in Tetris, it gets real awkward when a whole bunch of L's stack up. It gets real complicated. You're going to stack up to the end of the map and it's over. So you don't want to stack up too many L's. Sorry, I gotta wait for that hang up. I pause it. Every time I pause it, it's going to hang up a little bit. Boom. Okay, now this is transactional analysis. I talked about this once or twice. The parent ego state, the child ego state. That's the same thing if I say one up or one down today. Even when we get to Derek and Danae, the Derek would be the narcissist. That would be that person. And the child ego state would be like the codependent person, the dependent person, the one with low self-esteem, or just even in a normal everyday interaction. The parent ego state is the one that's playing the authority, the one I'm telling somebody something. The child ego state would be the listener, the follower, the submissive. And again, in a conversation, typically you balance those out. Or again, the balanced state is the adult ego state. You're balanced. You're not too heavy on the behaviors, thoughts, and feelings copied from parents and parental figures, authority figures in the parent ego state. And you're not copying the behaviors, thoughts, and feelings that are replayed from childhood, your attachment style. You are forming your behaviors, thoughts, and feelings as a direct response to what's going on in the current moment. You are positioned mentally in this current moment. What does this current moment require? It requires the dishes to be done. But the only person here is a man. The adult would wash the dishes. The person who's in the child ego state, who learned that only mom washes the dishes, would not wash them. Because you learn those patterns from childhood. That's what you saw. So now you want to hold on to the nostalgia and the feelings of mommy did this and daddy did this. Or the parent ego state. If you feel like you're the authority figure and you're the man, and again, you saw that pattern, you're going to tell other people to wash the dishes because you're the man. You don't wash dishes. Men don't wash dishes. Submit. So is the adult ego state the ideal one, or is it more like having a mix of both parent and child? For me, and I'm going to talk about this later, it's being able, and I know one of the other slides said it, being able to move to whatever state is necessary. But in this, the ideal state would be the adult ego state, because you're responding to what's here and now. What's going on? What are the current circumstances? That's the adult ego state. What are the current circumstances? What are the current needs? What are, like, utilitarianism? This is what the situation is. This is what our resources are. What's the best way to apply these resources to the current situation? That's the adult ego state. Not playing out patterns from your parents, not playing out patterns from you and what you observed and experienced in your childhood. But what's going on right now? How do I address what's going on right now? So to me, that's the ideal state, but I'm going to talk about a balance, being able to move between states a little bit later on. I'm going to reframe it in a different way. I'm hitting play. It's probably going to take about 4 seconds. Hopefully this is making sense. So this is now I definitely need to move the top of this again. Boom. The Karpman drama triangle. This is one of the streams that I put off. I put off this stream because I don't know. I still think I need to do it. Not that I need to do it. People that care may want to hear it. But this is going to be, I'm going to touch on this because they're all related. All this stuff is connected. The Karpman drama triangle. So what we've been talking about, like the one up, one down, and in transactional analysis, they talked about the parent. Well, right now, where you're seeing the rescue and the persecutor, that's one up or the parent. When I actually did the stream on transactional analysis, if you may not remember, but the parent had a positive and a negative side. The positive will be the rescuer, the negative will be the persecutor. So all these things you can interpret these. These are all analogous. And the victim is the one down or the codependent. All of these are all examining the same phenomena with different language and lenses. So we got the persecutor. In this mode, the person doesn't value other people's views and integrity, like they might say of a narcissist. They might be angry, openly. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be say openly or passively, which, anyway, aggressive, judgmental, bullying, demanding, spiteful, and scornful. That's the persecutor or the villain. The villain is another word for the persecutor. You have the rescuer. In this mode, the person doesn't value other people's capacity to help themselves. This will be like the white knight, the hero, what do they call? See, Nova, what they call him? The white savior, That's one. But a rescue, I called my sister the rescue ranger. Anybody that called needed anything, she would just get up at any time of day and just ride and go help them. She would just ride to go help them, no matter what kind of situation they put her in, no matter what kind of financial straits. And then when it was her time to be rescued, there were no rescue rangers around. And she'd be mad because she'd had used all her resources, but she was a rescuer. You can't do that. Not at your own peril. They appear self-sacrificing. They're over-helpful. They like to be needed, prone to meddling unnecessarily. And they're engulfing. They're all encompassing. They got to be in everything and everybody. And they got to solve every problem. It's anyway. But they're trying to do good. Their intent is to do good. But they typically end up enabling poor behavior. I don't see myself in any of these because you probably inhabit the adult. Like on that last one, it was the adult. So right now where you would be is in the middle of that triangle. But this one is not trying to assess the balanced people. This one is trying to examine the top and the bottom end in a different lens. But you'd be in the middle of the triangle where there's no need to, point you out because you're not on the high end or the low end of the spectrum. And on the low end is the victim. The hapless, both are one up, one down, or the parent power position. I'd already said that though, my bad. This is your victim. This is you. It's not you. In this mode, the person doesn't value self. Remember we talked about low self-esteem? And defers to others, pleasing others, catering to others. I can't remember, but codependency. When I gave that definition, the same language, but again, they're using different language. They're typically manipulative. Because again, a lot of people don't think about the victim as manipulative. They don't think about the codependent person as manipulative. People always think about the person in power as manipulative. But guess what? The victim is manipulative. Poor me, helpless and needy, complaining and whining. All that is manipulation. They're fretful. They're downtrodden. They blame others. All of that. The way they posture themselves, the way they cloak themselves in their victimhood, the way they talk, the way they share information, the way they withhold other information. They're manipulative as well, but it's harder to see because everybody sees their state as unfavorable. So they must be suffering at the hands of somebody else. But guess what? In a relationship, they're playing a role too. They're active, especially when they're in a relationship 5, 7, 9, 14 years. You are a part of this. You weren't just a victim. Nobody had you shackled. You are playing a part. Oh my God. The calculus of mediocrity. Oh, shoot. Forgive me, everybody. I'm not sure. I don't know what that slide is doing in there. I'm not sure what that slide is doing in there. Shout out to Nova for that chart to let me know I am here. Now, listen, when we're talking about this attachment style, when we're talking about the way people show up, when we talk about like the narcissist and the victim, there's a theme that describes the person. This comes from Nelson Media. This is his thing. There's a theme that describes the person. Like I'm the savior. Like I call my sister a rescue ranger. That's her theme. That's the theme. There's a narrative that describes the theme. That's the scripting that you use that kind of talks you through that. Like, I got to be there for everybody, or, blood is thick in the water, or I'm always going to show up for my people. I'm a ride or die. That's the narrative. That's the language that you use to reinforce the theme of your life, the role that you have chosen to inhabit, your character arc. Your character arc is going to have language that reinforces your storyline. Then there are going to be traits that build and confirm that narrative. So you're going to be super helpful. You're going to be generous. You're going to be they give the shirt off their back. They give the shirt off their back to a stranger. You're going to have traits that reinforce the narrative and the scripting that you follow to reinforce the theme or the character or the role that you're inhabiting. And again, to me, these are established during the formative years. There are stages of psychosocial development. This stuff can be looked up. And during these stages, a lot of times you can see what people are learning and what things get impaired during their formative years. So during a lot of early on, trust and mistrust, autonomy. So people, if you don't learn autonomy, you're more likely to be more dependent upon somebody else to make your decisions for you. Shame and doubt. We know shame is a big thing. Shout out to Mr. She Said. But some people have no shame. Some people are overly shamed, too much or too little. Most people are too much or too little all the time. That's dysfunctional. If you're always high, if you're always low, that's a dysfunction. Regulation, like a car's transmission, is where you can move between states fluidly. That's the optimal function of a person. You cannot inhabit one state all of the time. That's rigid. That's a rock. Even trees bend. We're more flexible than trees. We should be able to move mentally, emotionally, physically, and articulate all of these things and changes throughout our lives. If you cannot, something's off. If you cannot move and shift and phase, something's off. Figuring out what that is very important. Boo, boo, boo. Give me a second. Man, this came from Nelson Media, just to give y'all an example of the theme, the narrative, and the traits. So, it's something that everybody can wrap their mind around. Everybody's heard of Batman. If you have not heard of Batman, I can't. He's the Dark Knight. He's the what is it? I can't remember what's the detective? The world's greatest detective. He's a lone crime fighter. He's a vigilante do-gooder. The narratives: I can't trust anyone, which reinforces the loner. I have to do everything alone. I'm the world's greatest detective. So he alone has to fight all the crime because he's the world's greatest. If I have the obligation, I have the greatest ability, then I have the greatest responsibility. I have to be prepared for anything. Because again, if I think I'm as smart as I am, if I'm the Dark Knight, if I'm the savior, I have to be capable. I have to be competent. He did find the clitoris. Yeah. I am always high. That is a dysfunction. I am not Bruce Wayne. Not Bruce Wayne. Totally not Bruce Wayne. And then he has traits that reinforce those narratives. He does solve crimes. He has no long-term relationships because he can't, because of the themes that he's trying to play out. He keeps files on how to beat even his allies. He has to be such a great detective that even if his friends should turn on him, he even has to be able to figure out how to stop them because he has to be the savior. He has to be capable and competent to solve any problem that should arise. That's his narrative, his theme, and his narratives reinforce that, and his traits reinforce that. That's kind of how the hierarchy of a person is kind of built. You have a theme, the role you kind of play in life. Your narratives fill out that theme, and then your traits fill out those narratives. So we're going to look at a person. Totally not Bruce Wayne. Joker rules. So now we're going to look at a person. From the thumbnail, we are going to hit a little bit of DJ. Team Jackson, what's happening? Boom. His theme. Now this comes from Nelson Media. I would not give this man this thing. I would not have given this man this thing. I would have given this man the theme of like a teacher, coach, because again, he's online in his car most of the time telling people what they should and should not do, what they should and should not accept. He's taking on the role of a teacher, guider, and whatever words you like to fill in there. That's what I would put. Which his narratives, the narrative kind of fits the theme I'm giving, not the one that he put. But the narrative, a deep intellectual teacher, the athlete and poet, the tragic hero of Black women. So the narrative should actually fit the theme, but I don't think this is aptly done. I think this is a little biased here. But this did. Totally not T-Pain. You stupid. Wait. You don't know who Derek Jackson is? Good. But you know Batman. As long as you know Batman, Batman's more important. He has a contingency plan for all the Justice League, including himself. No, don't even trust himself. That's Bruce Lee. Yes, DC villains have fallen off. This is Derek Jackson. He is a DC villain. I'm gonna tell you. So again, this is from Nelson Media. Now this slide was a little off for me, but I know he has a issue with Derek Jackson and people he's coined as narcissists. You don't know Derek Jackson either? Good. That's pretty good. But he puts himself out as a guru, a coach, a teacher, educator, guide, whatever you want to call it, motivational speaker, one of those types. To me, that's his thing. His narrative, like deep intellectual teacher, would follow the thing that I'm saying. The athlete, like the poet part, that would follow my thing. The tragic hero, black women, because that's who his audience is. Those are the people he's trying to teach. That would fit with my thing. Give me a second. Now, these are his traits because this man has deemed this man a narcissist, a monster, and evil. So these are the traits of a narcissist. They have a grandiose sense of self-importance. They exaggerate achievements and talents, expect to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. Requires excessive admiration. Has a sense of entitlement, i.e. unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Is interpersonally exploitative, i.e. takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own goals or ends. Lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. And shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So those are the traits that he lists as narcissist personality disorder traits. And he assigns those to Derek Jackson, which I wouldn't really disagree. I wouldn't disagree if these are the traits of somebody with NPD. From listening and with Derek Jackson, I wouldn't disagree with the man. So I'm not arguing that Derek Jackson is not a narcissist. That's not going to be my play here today. My play here is on the other side of the coin. Egoism. Egoism and the original myth of the narcissist. So we're going to have a little recap. Demo, storytime music. In the original myth, narcissist thought he was the shit and didn't feel love for anyone. He was cruel and didn't care. One up. The goddess Hera wanted to teach him a lesson. She cursed him to fall in love with the first person he looked at. So when he looked into the pond, he fell in love with himself, became obsessed, and died in shallow water. A part of the story that never got too much press was the part about Echo. She was a storyteller, wordsmith nymph, sexy nymph. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. Echo thought Narcissus was hot, but Hera was jealous that Echo's storytelling had caught her husband's attention, and so cursed Echo to be able to repeat the last few. Give me a second for this slide to switch over. Repeat the last few. Come on now. When I pause it, it just hangs up so bad. The last few sentences that were said to her. Echo was stripped of her own voice, her own story. One down. To add insult to injury, she was unable to stop loving Narcissus. The hook was deep. She lost the ability to eat and sleep and eventually died from her codependent obsession. That makes this myth the origin story of the fatal attraction between someone with empathic tendencies and someone with narcissistic tendencies. This is the yin and the yang here. You've got the narcissist tendency on the top end, but you've got the empathic tendency. You know how everybody been going around for the last year? I'm an empath. I'm an empath. I'm an empath. Same time everybody's going around. I dated a narcissist. I dated 5 narcissists. I married 6 narcissists. Well, maybe the two are related because they're opposite ends. Opposites do attract, but they are also going to be balanced. So if you have these traits of narcissism, which is a dysfunctional side, you're going to have the empathic tendencies, which are also going to be dysfunctional. It's going to be dysfunctional. And it's where the newly coined term echoist stems from. An echoist hides one down behind the strong, confident bravado of a narcissist, one up. And the narcissist is granted a forever audience, a fan, and a star. That's the relationship. One is the star, they get the stage, and you have a fan that can clap. They have something to watch and entertain them and make them feel special. It's a relationship. They both get fed. They both manipulate the other. The fan clamors. As an empath, I must protect my psyche and emotional health at all costs, which is why it's so easy for empathic people to get linked up with narcissists, because they can let the other person take the emotional lead. It's crazy. It's a balancing out. It's a balancing out. But if you're taking on all of this stuff, if you need it because you can't regulate your own emotions, they're going to run you through the ringer. You're going to get run through the ringer. But a lot of people are choosing this. People are choosing this because they want to hide behind the strong, confident bravado of a narcissist. Everything I'm not is everything they are. I'm going to seek that out. I'm going to balance out this relationship. I'm going to balance myself out. What I lack, I'm going to look for. That's what a lot of people do, and they're not aware that this is what they're doing. They're chasing the feeling that balances themselves out. I feel incomplete. This feels like it completes me. Whether it's dysfunctional or not, I'm going to choose that because it seems to fill that void. Whether it works or not, doesn't matter, but it seems to fill that void. And both of them are doing the same thing. Unhealthy narcissism is when people become addicted to feeling special. Think of it as a substance abuse problem. Instead of turning to love and relationships, instead of opening up to somebody close to them and saying, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm lonely. Don't touch me, I'm scared. I love myself more than loving an abusive narcissist. Absolutely. You have to. You have to. I'm sad, I'm lonely, and trusting that they can depend on others. They depend on these different ways of feeling special. That's when they become addicted to the experience. The other thing that becomes clear as soon as you start viewing it this way is the problem when people lack healthy narcissism. We already know from the research that people who don't have those rose-colored glasses view themselves and the world in slightly dimmer light. Sometimes they're more anxious. Sometimes they're more depressed. In my research with my colleagues, I dubbed this problem echoism, where Narcissus fell in love with his reflection. Echo fell in love with Narcissus. And that's Craig Malkin from Rethinking Narcissism. So there is a second side of the coin with narcissism. And here you go with that side. Danae Jackson had that history of abandonment, low self-esteem. And again, this is from Nelson Media. Hurt from relationship with father, needs to earn love, history of sexual assault. So had all of that, all those things that we talked about with codependency. Strong desire for approval, low self-esteem, unhealthy attachment to others. Had all the necessary puzzle pieces to lock up with a narcissist. And if you listen, anybody that listened to her story, anybody that listened to her on my Future Wifey podcast, if you were listening with a critical ear, you heard somebody that was manipulative also, because everybody's seeking. Everybody's seeking. She was seeking. She sought out Derek Jackson. She did a lot to try to get him. She did a lot. There is no one monster. There are two people who are looking to complete a side of themselves that's been broken. And we try to use other people to do that. Here, empath. I can't stand you. I've got a sexy sprinkle of narcissism you might take interest in. I can't stand you. Nothing beats dominating the absolute bejesus out of an empath and also taking their credit card. Man, you got problems. Yeah, I can't stand you, no.
What drew him to Danae was she had a sense, he framed it as she had an innocence about her. Narcissists tend to be connected with people that have low self-esteem, people that are naturally submissive. People call them empaths.
Empaths are simply people who have no concept, and it's not I'm not trying to be mean or rude. Like, for a lot of people, this is going to wake them up, but like, they have no concept of the idea of internal boundaries. Like, that concept does not exist to them. They don't even know that you can have internal boundaries. So what happens is they recognize emotions in other people, and because they don't have internal boundaries, they internalize the emotions of others. And because they don't understand that there is such a concept called internal boundaries, they simply make it part of their identity, their inability to set internal boundaries. So like, again, not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not saying that you can't recognize the feelings of others, but what makes someone an empath isn't like some supernatural special ability. It's actually the lack of an ability to set internal boundaries. In fact, that makes you dangerous as a person, because I can't trust you at all. At all. I would much rather someone who recognizes the emotions in others and then is able to regulate their own internal system. It doesn't matter what this other person is feeling. I'm not going to allow their feeling to affect me. But when you grow up in a household where why am I preaching right now? When you grow up in a household where you have a parent whose emotional system you have to regulate, then being a quote unquote empath, as in having no internal boundaries, as in having an emotional state. Because like when you're with that parent, you have to be complimentary to their emotion. If they're angry, you better be being respectful, right? But then sometimes they're happy, you're not feeling happy, but you better be happy or you're going to get in trouble, right? So again, if you are someone who thinks that you are an empath, please go look up internal boundaries, because your life doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to be impacted by the moods of others more than other people are. It's simply just a lack of internal boundaries.
Pause that real quick because I wanted to get before that went too far. I just wanted to acknowledge OG Patrice said, as an empath, I must protect my psyche and emotional health at all costs. That's the boundaries that this man is talking about. You have to set up boundaries that protect your psyche and your emotions and not let them be led by somebody else. Your internal, your thoughts and your feelings are for you. And if you let somebody else dominate those which are inside of you from the outside with their own wants and needs, you're going to run into a problem. What's up, Mr. She said in the building? Let me see. Why are there no knobs on the inside of doors? What? Yes, that's what I've been able to do. It's hard as hell, but doable. Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to have those boundaries for yourself as well as in your relationship with others, but something just for yourself. You don't allow too much incursion from other people's influence for your thoughts and your feelings. And that's if you grew up in, like they said, in a household where we weren't allowed room for autonomy and agency, or your safety dependent upon you modulating somebody else's behavior, you had to please somebody else or make them happy to keep them from getting angry, to keep them from hurting you. I mean, you're going to develop a lot of issues or unbalanced nature or lack of boundaries or a sense of my feelings start with this other person. Because if they feel good, then I'm okay to feel good. But if they don't feel good, I can't. I'm not safe. So you learn a lot of coping mechanisms and ways to manipulate other people for your safety, which is, again, I'm not demonizing this side. What I'm trying to get is that both people on both sides of this coin, the narcissist and the egoist, the empath, they're both human, both trying to fulfill a need. Neither one is necessarily a monster. But we're using these terms to make people monsters or demons. They're both human trying to fulfill a need from a broken place. And if they learn that, if they're open to and learn that they are operating from a place that is maladaptive or dysfunctional, they can learn to operate a little better and more safely for the people around them. But it's not okay to keep saying that one side of this coin is manipulative, harmful, blah, blah, blah. And the other side, who was a willful participant, who does just as much manipulation, but layers their manipulation and coercion under the veneer of nicety and kindness and sweetness and meekness and all that stuff. But they're doing just as much dirt behind closed doors because they can't be forthright with it because of their personality traits. That's not okay, man. That's not okay. He also talked about complementary emotions in there. If you have no internal boundaries and have made a habit, because again, these things you've practiced for the first 18 years of your life. You've practiced these things in a place where you didn't have a lot of agency and autonomy. Let me read that. I disagree with the notion, narc that a sociopath and psychopath. Okay, yeah. But a lot of people have made it an automatic. The person's a narcissist and they're a bad person, and they're evil, or they're abusive, you're a narcissist abuser. Like, we throw these labels around without a true understanding of the dynamics at play. If you are chronically dating narcissists, means you're chronically broken too. You just haven't recognized your part as a victim, as an active role. You're an active victim. You are choosing to be victimized because that narcissist feeds a part of yourself. It completes a part of you that's broken. It fills up a wound, but it's going to create another one. So I grew up with a similar situation. Getting hit doesn't hurt that bad. You get used to it. After the threat of violence has no effect on you, they have no power. I would disagree. I understand you. I understand your point, though. I understand your point. If you're like anesthetized, if you're numb to the harms against you, then it can't dominate your mind and emotions. I get that's what you're saying, but them punches still hurt. Them punches, them hits, however they're hitting you psychologically, you still feel them until you become numb to them. But not everybody has the same capacity to become numb. It started with phobic, and nobody had a problem with that, so it opened Pandora's box. You're a participant. You're a willful participant in this dynamic. And if people find themselves continually in the company of narcissists, they have a mirror to hold up to themselves. They need to look at themselves. I had somebody who said, I've been married twice and I'm married to narcissists. Well, your picker's broken. Y'all know I ain't gonna get that argument. I know phobic is a problem for y'all, but there's the real thing with phobia. There are some words that actually do fit. And even narcissism fits, but it needs to be understood differently. Phobia fits. It needs to be understood differently. We're weaponizing these words instead of using them to understand. That's where my disagreement would be. We're weaponizing words like phobia. We're weaponizing words to shame people into silence. We're weaponizing words to harm people and label them and cost them because we're not happy with them. So yeah, there are multiple types of narcs. But I would say our society breeds narcissistic traits, which is also problematic. People are not able to even see the forest for the trees. Like, we can't differentiate. That's why I hesitate for the childhood thing. I don't regulate myself to prevent anger, but I should by the theory. I don't regulate myself to prevent anger. No, because the attachment theory is just saying you adapted to your environment. You becoming numb to being harmed is an adaptation. So if somebody could come along, Greg, can come along and try to hurt you right now, and you're numb to being harmed, that's actually maladaptive. Like, to not have an emotional reaction to harm, like, that's like having your body, if you could not feel pain, like if you put your hand on fire and you couldn't feel pain because your nerves were dead, that's actually not healthy. That's not the way your body's supposed to function. So your mind and your feelings, you're supposed to be able to feel pain and feel hurt. And if you've numbed yourself, you have adapted. You have an attachment issue. And again, I'm not trying to condemn or what do you call that? Like, diagnose. I'm just saying, in theory, theoretically, if your mind and your body are not working the way the normal body works, there's an out of balance nature. I'm not saying that the out of balance nature makes you a bad person, makes you inoperable. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying we need to start understanding that out of balance just means you're out of balance. If you can't feel with your hands, it just means you can't feel with your hands. If you're numb, it just means you're numb. It doesn't mean you're numb and you're dumb. You're numb and you're useless. It doesn't mean any of the extra stuff we apply. You're a narc and you're a narcissist and. Every time we use a word like you're phobic, and we put all these words, and there's a whole bunch of invisible ands behind them that we start associating, word association. So somebody says, Rashawn's a narcissist. In your mind, you're going to take narcissist and put a whole bunch of ands behind that. What does that mean to you? Oh, that means he's selfish and harmful and abusive and. And if somebody says Rashawn is homophobic, which I am, I'm willing to take that label. I don't care about these labels. You call me homophobic, but you're going to start assuming that maybe I go out there and commit hate crimes. Well, he hates gay people, and he goes out there and attacks people. And if he sees two guys kissing, he's probably going to da. Not true. You've added a whole bunch of ands, but on the basic premise of the definition, where we could have an understanding and agreement, that's where I wish we could stop with these terms. They're saying empaths do what they do to control emotions to prevent anger. It's not that I don't feel pain. It's just that I don't regulate my actions to avoid it. Yeah, I might have to come back to that. I might have to come back to that. But I don't know where I left off. Let me see. If you have no internal boundaries and have habitualized internalization of other people's feelings, you're going to become manipulative as an adaptive behavior because you modulate your behavior through the person you're emotionally attaching it to. It's like they talked about the father. If your father's if he gets angry and starts punching when he gets angry, you're going to do everything you can to keep your father from getting angry. You might start telling some jokes. You might start dancing. You might start singing for him, anything to keep him from punching on you, which happens when he's angry. So to keep yourself safe emotionally or physically, people will start to manipulate the people around them. So again, this is not a demonic trait at all. I mean, what I'm saying, the manipulation that people do to keep themselves safe or to make themselves feel whole, that's normal. Wanting to feel happy or healthy or safe, those are normal desires for a human being. What happens, though, is because the people around them are unsafe or harmful, they end up with dysfunctional ways to find those safety feelings, the feelings of love or attachment or acceptance or whatever those are, because the people around them are disorderly or dysfunctional. So in order to feel good, you have to make these people feel good. So you have to people please. You have to earn validation, which is what Nelson said about Danae. People in disempowered positions also choose sometimes to live through the experience of the up partner, the narcissist, or the person who has the power, the agency, the outgoing, the extroversion. So that's something that happens too. Let me see. Let me read that. StreamYard froze up on me. Give me a second. Boom. There we go. If you are numbed enough to social pain, you might accidentally surround yourself with people who want the worst for you rather than the best, since you can't differentiate. And that will be another balancing. Like if you are numb to pain, the people who are going to be most attracted to you are the people who like to see people go through pain or who like to inflict pain. Because the rest of us see you go through a lot of pain, we're going to be put off like, oh man, they're always suffering. It's hard to watch. But some people who either like to inflict pain or like to witness pain will surround themselves with a person that can't feel pain. And that's an extreme, but I get your point. Yeah. That's a balance. That's a balancing of energies. And that's an understanding. That's an understanding of the principles that I'm trying to say. It can have real consequences in the same way. Not necessarily how you are in Greg. Yeah. Not having or feeling empathy is problematic in and of itself. If you're with an narc too long, you become narcissistic yourself or codependent to it. Absolutely. So what I'm saying is all of these things are adaptive behaviors. These are people adapting to the relationships and the environments in their lives. It doesn't make them a monster. They can do monstrous things, but I bet you these same people have a lot of help, a lot of people that love them and care for them and like, oh yeah, we have the best relationship. Because there's no one side. There's no 100% hero. There's no 100% villain. There's no 100% victim. We all play a part in these relationships for 90% of the relationships on earth. There are some people who are true victims. Like I said, those are extremes and not what we're talking about. We're talking about when there's two free adults, consenting adults, work, play, friendship. There are power dynamics at play all the time. And they're invisible to a lot of us.
You have to be able to recognize, I see that you're angry. I see that you're upset. I see that you're having a bad day. I see that you're happy. I see that you are experiencing an emotion. And just because you are experiencing emotion does not mean I need to mirror that emotion so that I can be safe or have a complementary response to your emotion so I can be safe. I can be angry while you're happy. I can be sad while you are overjoyed. Like that's truly what it is. I should have charged for this.
I do too. So relationship is a balancing of energies, either functional or dysfunctional. So think in terms of the one up, one down that I've said, homeostasis, Nova already throwing polarity in science, or even like puzzle pieces fit. So a puzzle piece is not going to fit where there no hole exists. A narcissist can't fit where there's not a narcissist-sized hole in your life. Most people will not cope with a narcissist. Most people, the tendencies that they have would not suit me. I would never be paired with a narcissist. I don't have a hole that size. I don't balance out that equation. So if a narcissist fits in your life and you've had multiple narcissists, you got some work to do because you've got a narcissist-sized hole. And until you put some other pieces there so that a different piece fits there, you're going to keep drawing narcissists because that's the only thing that's going to fit. That's interesting. Someone who likes pain being with someone who likes watching it. That is something probably over. Absolutely. But that's a balancing out. And instead of us, we run with a lot of crazy, like almost, we have a lot of useless language as opposed to language that gives us an understanding. And I'm not sure how to fix that part. I can't fix that part. If someone is controlling you with violence, it is your fear of violence that controls your action. Removing the fear is more effective than avoiding the violence. Not for everybody, because we're also talking about relationships, and sometimes men are so much larger than women. So even if a woman's not afraid of violence, she can use her actions and not be afraid of the violence and receive more violence, which her body can't withstand because she's so much smaller and weaker. So I get what you're saying. Again, I understand the principle behind your saying. I just want to make sure it's understood that that's not a sufficient band-aid for the dynamics we're talking about. A hole that size? Pause. Stop. Yeah, it's called BDSM.
Often in relationships, what it is that I see is somebody getting into a relationship with a partner because they feel like they need something or they feel like they need to be stabilized in a particular way. That's not always the best way to go about that, right? That's not always the best way to think about that. The reason being is because the best way that I can say it is that if you are looking for what you lack in relationships and you are not being honest about what it is that person lacks, that person can give you what it is that they have and make you ignore what it is that they don't. I'm gonna say that one more time. If you're only looking for what it is that you lack in your relationships and you are not careful and aware about how it is that somebody else may lack something even though they have what you're looking for, that person can give you what it is that they have, fill the need that you lack, and then have you ignore all of the things that they lack. So now you have met the need, but you still feel unhappy.
All right, so I'm gonna get into this in a second because that's the puzzle piece. That's the puzzle piece paradox, as I would say it. That's a puzzle piece paradox because you're a puzzle. You're a person. You're a puzzle. You've got multiple pieces missing from your life because you cannot come from childhood and get all of your puzzle pieces filled in. You're not going to get all of your puzzle pieces filled in. So you might have one puzzle piece that you're really trying to get filled in, and it looks like that narcissist fills that in, but you've got other puzzle pieces that they'll never complete. They'll never complete though. That's what that guy was talking about. You'll get this one thing that I got to get this corner. I got to get this corner. You've seen people work on the puzzle. I've got to get this corner. I've got to get this corner and then everything else will fall into place. If I get this corner, I'll be able to see everything. Okay, you have that corner now, but now the middle's still empty. So it's an understanding of something like that. You may get one piece that you're looking for, you're focused on, but it's going to obscure all the other pieces that you're missing because you're hyper focused on this one thing. I'm talking about abusive parents. And very few parents are willing to beat their children to death. I hear you, Greg. I don't know. That just feels like an off philosophy. That just feels like off. I wouldn't tell any minor to become so numb to the pain that it doesn't affect them, like the fear of the violence. So I don't know what that would look like. So I would have to hear you one day talk about that. Like, what does not having a fear of the abuse of your parents' physical violence look like? Standing there boldly with your chin up? I don't know. Because I can't visualize what you're talking about, I can't grasp it. I can't grasp that. But again, I trust you. You're smart enough and articulate enough I know you know what you're talking about. I can't connect to it. I can't visualize it. And I didn't experience violence like that. I experienced physical violence from my mother and stuff, but I didn't experience to that level. I wasn't getting punched or anything like that. So it's hard for me to really relate to it, not having gone through that. So again, I would never say that you're wrong or anything like that. I just can't connect to that. So I want to talk about the balance of these right here. Like feminine qualities, perceived masculine qualities. Because if you're missing you're missing one side. Typically, you're going to try to fill it. You're going to try to fill it. So let's look at these feminine qualities real quick. So like receptive, women are the tendencies. This is not an absolute. There are receptive men. There are projective women. So please, nobody do that to me today. There are men and women on both sides. There are very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides. But the general tendency that is perceived of the genders and their qualities. Okay. We understand this is a generalization? Okay. Cool. Passiveness, because again, I don't find most women to be passive in my experience. But anyway, there are domains that they're more passive in. But men are more active. These are their perceptions. So they typically balance each other out. If somebody's passive, you typically kind of long for what you lack. Yeah, both sides. Very fine people on both sides. Similar to the fight or flight example. You can run away, but the monster is always, okay, I got you. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Because if you're overwhelmed by fear, you can't truly reason. If there are any solutions, you won't be able to reason through any solutions because of the fear of the hit you're about to take. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. I'm with you now. So if you have a very intuitive nature, but you're looking for, like, you're very inward, you're very introspective, you inside yourself a lot, all that kind of stuff. But you have somebody, oh man, they're so outgoing and they're so full of life and they make friends so easily. A lot of times that will attract you because it's what you're not. You're used to what you are. You're very used to what you are. You're not used to what this other person is because they're different. So you might be drawn to that. It'll be novel. It'll be new to you. So that's why a lot of times opposites do attract, because it's new. It's novel. It's unique to you because, again, you're you all the time. So you like people that have something different because, like, ooh, that's new. That's different. So a lot of times with men and women, you're drawn to somebody that has a different disposition or way in some regard. So that's why those puzzle pieces end up fitting and interlocking. And y'all can complete some pieces. But if you're not paying attention, some other pieces will be left out. The chart sounds like it's trying to expand sex to the rest of life. Put some efforts in, ladies. Let me see. Aiden Tunes, my first time seeing you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining the channel. Appreciate you coming in. Or I'm not saying joining the channel, but thank you for coming in. Appreciate you joining the chat. Lacking empathy doesn't mean lacking morality. Absolutely. And compassion. People that lack empathy because of their disorder can't control it. It's okay to have NPD, and NPD is a spectrum, so they can have empathy, but if they don't, that's okay. I agree with you. That was my point, though. We can't naturally automatically assume. We got to quit throwing these labels around like one side is a monster, but there's also the other side of the coin that balances that out, and they're both doing the same thing. They're both searching and looking for somebody to fill those puzzle pieces. They're both going to use whatever tools they know to get those feelings fulfilled. That's the way humans work. And it doesn't have to be narcissism and empathicness. It's going to be, there's probably some other terms for some other dualities, but everybody, if you're a human and you're looking for relationships or love or acceptance, you're looking for somebody to fill in those puzzle pieces. That's what you're looking for. I've got a puzzle piece I need. It might just be I need somebody to kill time with. Well, that's a puzzle piece. I need somebody to partner with me to kill time. I want some company to kill time. Or maybe you want somebody to open pickle jars. They're stronger than you. Physical strength might be that puzzle piece. Everybody's looking for something. If you're looking for something. Nobody looks without looking for something. It's you know what I'm saying? It's I don't know. I don't want to get too far into a rant on that one. Let me go to the next slide. Don't want to get too ranty. I didn't hit play. Or I'm stuck. Oh, StreamYard is stuck. Okay, give me a second. My StreamYard is stuck. Boom. So this is what they listed. And again, this is not a complete list or an exhaustive list or a credential. This is just a list. Don't take it too seriously. Natural masculine will exude traits like confidence, protection, clarity, inner strength, responsibility, boundaries, focus, courage. Logical. We like to, men are logical. We love saying that. So these are masculine and then natural feminine traits. Nurturing. We say that a lot. Tenderness, kindness, intuition, creative feeling, emotional. So these are some of the traits. And sometimes if you're lacking something on the other side, it can become like that said, that corner piece I was talking about. Like, man, I like discipline. And you'll look for that discipline in your partner. You'll look to get paired up with people who are disciplined, whether that's work, whether that's school. You know, when they have those team projects, you're going to look for somebody disciplined. If you're disciplined, you're not going to look for discipline because you know you're competent and capable in that area. You don't need anybody else to cover that. I'm going to get my work done. I ain't really worried about that. What I need is the creative piece. I need somebody to have some ideas. I mean, I'll get the work done. I'm just like, I don't have an idea. I don't even know where to start. Everybody has deficiencies. Everybody has empty puzzle pieces. Other people have different pieces, like the trading card games. We pass them back and forth. We meet up with people and we pass our traits back and forth, and we fill in some holes and gaps and knowledge gaps and skill gaps. That's why humanity and social order is so wonderful, because we get to fill in these puzzle pieces. Everybody, when you get closer to the end, is going to have a few pieces missing. That's the way puzzles work. You're always going to miss a piece. And the wounded. Now, this will sound familiar too when we get to the wounded. I think I hit play. Yeah, I did. I think StreamYard's froze on me. Give me a second. Why are you lingering? Move. Okay, there we go. Wounded feminine. So we got that perpetrator. You see that language? Like everybody would say when a narcissist. He's a perpetrator, abuser, abuse of power, dominant. See, these words are so familiar. Confrontational, abusive, unstable, control. Every time somebody's talking like the Derek Jackson, these are the type of words that would get used. They even asked him in his interview with he went to the exact same podcast that his wife had gone 2-3 weeks before. And they asked him about aggression. The only time I'm aggressive is sexually. But again, these same thoughts and feelings are pervasive when we use certain labels. Like I said, if somebody says a label, they take that label and add a bunch of ands to it. So when somebody thinks about narcissism, they're going to be like, and perpetrator, and abuser, and critic, and avoidant, and unsupportive, and unstable, and controlling, and aggressive, and competitive, and confident, and dominant. There's a lot of ands. And the same things we're going to do on the Danae side. Oh, she's a victim. She was powerless. So, and then people who are critics are, oh, she was needy, codependent. We use these labels, but we need to have a better understanding of the traits and just understand what that feeds into. But also a part of that does not get called out is the other side of that. The people who pair up, the empaths, whatever, they'll be manipulative too. It just looks different. They'll withhold because that was one of the problems in their marriage. He wasn't receiving intimacy. She withheld intimacy for whatever her reasons were. They can be whatever. She's a human. I'm not even trying to condemn that, but that's a thing. And if you withdraw intimacy, people are gonna feel rejected. That's going to open up a puzzle piece, especially to a young boy who had his own wounds and felt senses of abandonment. So if somebody withdraws their love and affection from you, that's going to feel like abandonment. So everybody, they're all human. That's the only thing I want here. They're all human. And we have to understand both sides. There is no pure victim and there is no pure villain. So when I heard old guy calling him a monster and evil, but I'm like, ooh, I listened to everything she said she did, and it didn't sound too much better to me. It just didn't look, it wasn't as public. It wasn't as public. Until she said it, nobody knew. Because some people move quietly because of their traits, because of their one down position. But the difference between the narcissist and empath narcissists do hurt people. Other people, empaths, hurt themselves by being with an arm and continuing the relationship with narcissists. Yeah, there's multiple paths to all this. There is no one way. So even when we say narcissist, even when we say empath, I think somebody said it earlier, there is no one way. We all get tuned and wired differently based upon our genetics, our family, our environment, our experiences through life from childhood into adulthood. All of that wires us up differently so that our pieces are all scattered in different places, in different, there's no one way. But when we talk about it, we have a very simple understanding. And I know you probably, again, I know you and Brother Clarence have done a series with a couple of people who I guess were diagnosed with MPD. And they seem like very thoughtful individuals. They were very composed. But also people will talk about narcissists project that image. They feign this and they're very likable. But when what's her face? Danae got up there. She was the exact same way. She was very affable. She was very likable. She had a nice sense of humor. A lot of people can project a very nice public facade. We don't know what's lurking underneath the mask. We don't know. And these labels try to give people shortcuts, but we don't understand them. We don't understand the dynamics that help create them. We don't understand the dynamics with the people in the relationships that sustain them. The empath being female controls the narcissist male. Nobody talks about how women are able to get men to do whatever they want. And just imagine if he was such a dominant, abusive man. He's in controlling. Why did he file for the divorce? So a lot of the stuff just didn't make sense to me to call him evil and a monster. There wasn't any physical violence or abuse or anything like that. And I'm like, some of these labels, I'm just like, it feels evil. I'm like, some of this stuff feels extra. Some of the stuff just feels so extra. So I just wanted to kind of contextualize it a little more, that there's a dualism, there's a duality in that dysfunction. And again, the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine, a lot of stuff is going to mirror that same language that they've used for codependency, for denial, negative self-image, feels unworthy of love, stays too long in toxic relationships, and ignores their intuition, feels powerless and insecure, afraid to speak up. And then for him, emotionally unavailable, struggles to feel anything, guarding, closed off, controlling, aggressive, stuck in their ego, needs to be right, argumentative. Sounds a lot like what they use for, say, narcissism and empath and codependent. All of this stuff is a lot of times very interchangeable, but it's hard to understand what we're looking at because we'll put a label and put these ands on there instead of actually taking the time and figure stuff out. I believe this is where I'm supposed to look at it a different way. Yep. Oh, this is some of the stuff people need to do. So we need to understand, and we're getting ready to close probably within the next 15 minutes. We need to understand some of our triggers. If you often get triggered by the fear of someone leaving, you probably have an abandonment rejection issue that you need to heal from. If most feedback feels like criticism, especially harsh, man, I'm so tired. Ooh, this is a pet peeve. People cannot take criticism well or feedback, but it might remind you of a very critical, disapproving caregiver. Feeling unimportant to loved ones might be because you had an unavailable, self-focused caregiver. Raised voices and tones, looks on faces, because some people are so sensitive. What's that look? Why you look like that? Oh, I get that a lot. They might have had an unpredictable or scary caregiver where they had to always be on alert for somebody being angry or getting ready to run. Maybe they can ready not come back for a weekend. Loud noises and sensory overwhelm. Maybe they have very chaotic environments. Authority. They have a strong rejection to authority and being told what to do. Maybe they had a history of being controlled and couldn't have their own voice. And again, I would say that one also happens to be a gender wound for women. A lot of times guys trying to, I'm the leader, I'm the alpha. Everybody got to do what I tell them to do. You need to submit. They don't like being controlled. And they say, you're not going to silence me. You're not going to take away my voice. That's actually almost like literal language that comes from that discussion. Not feeling worthy or good enough because you had to perform to earn your parents' love or somebody that you care for's love. Worrying somebody is upset at you. You might have had a harsh or punitive caregiver. Feeling like you're a burden. Now, that's me. That's not, I'm going to tell you. That's me. I feel like I'm a burden a lot. So I really don't bother people because I don't want to feel like I'm bothering them. But because my needs were ignored or shamed. That's how I ended up feeling. When I was a kid, I ended up feeling that I'm a burden. I'm somebody nobody really wants to nobody wants to hear what I got to say. So I feel like I'm a burden. I still deal with that to this day. If you struggle with spending money on yourself, might be because of poverty. You might have been raised with scarcity mindset. So you feel bad spending well on yourself. You might always, my mom is so good for that. Ooh, she will not. I'm like, get a good pair of shoes because your feet always, stop. Just buy these pair of shoes. Anyway, feeling dismissed or invalidated might be because you were not allowed to have or show emotion. So these are some of the triggers and the wound that might have happened in your childhood that started that wound. And this next slide is a bunch of different domains that you need to look at. These are all different areas that you may need to look at. You might have a wound, but it doesn't show. This is why people have a hard time seeing a problem, because one problem, let's say I'm insecure. we don't know in which one of these you're going to see that insecurity arise, where it's going to be most visible. It could be cognitive. So if I'm insecure, I might have more of a problem shifting my negative thoughts and beliefs. Or and. Put an or and in between these. Emotional. Attending to, learning about, expressing, and releasing stuck emotions, especially for guys. A lot of us have a problem with this. And if my insecurity also has a problem with shifting the negative thoughts, and I don't have a way to express and release those stuck emotions, then we have a compound problem. Now we got a twofer. Then in the body, if I have a hard time noticing and responding to sensation within, processing implicit memories stored in the body, that's a third one. Again, and or. Maybe because I'm a guy and, we looked at that thing of traits. Maybe because I'm active. I'm seen as active. Maybe I notice my body's tense and I'll get up and do something about that. But I still have a problem with the thoughts and the feelings. But I'll get up and maybe punch a punching bag or start working on a car that I've been putting together. Maybe I'm used to inhabiting my body. Maybe I'm used to embodiment. Maybe I'm used to being present with my body because of the way I've been trained or wired or whatever. But mentally and emotionally, I'm still struggling. I'm still at a deficit. My nervous system, developing an understanding of nervous system states, coping with survival states, and expanding window of tolerance. Maybe my nervous system kicks in because I'm not as aware. So when somebody says or done something that triggers my insecurity, I start getting nervous and anxious, and maybe my breathing gets shallow, and I don't understand why it's happening. But I need to develop that understanding. So my insecurity may show up in my nervous system and my body, but not as much in my thoughts or emotions. So everybody's domain, you're going to be stronger in certain areas. Your puzzle's going to be more put together in different zones. So everybody's insecurity, everybody's controllingness, everybody's manipulation is not going to show up the exact same way. So when we use these labels, there needs to be an understanding behind it, that all of these things show up differently in different people because their puzzles put together differently and probably has a different picture on it altogether anyway. Relational. Accessing relationships which are safe and secure and embodying a sense of safety within the connections. If I'm insecure, maybe that's my area. And I know I deal with that a little bit myself. So some of my insecurity is in that area right there. Not really with the negative thoughts and feelings and certain types. And there's layers. Each one of these, there's more to it. Each one of these is a domain. And within that domain, there's layers. But this is a nice little simplification. Your habits, letting go of numbing habits and using resources that are nurturing. So if I have that insecurity, and I'm using that as my example for this, I may have developed habits when I'm insecure. I may have maybe started fishing for compliments as my habit when I'm feeling insecure, to let me know that people actually do like me. Oh, Greg, do I look good today? Do you like my shirt, Greg? Do you think this was nice? I just got this one the other day. What do you think? And if they like it, if they're giving me feedback and giving me attention, that may be a way that I soothe my emotional state or my nervous system via my habits. So people's insecurity, I'm using insecurity for all of these, and you never know which one of these is going to be the way that lets you know that you're having an issue. Identity and reintegration, accepting all parts of ourselves and reintegrating into the world, accepting that I have an insecurity and it's brought on by something in my childhood, not feeling loved enough, hugged enough, patted on the head enough, yes, good boy enough, whatever it is. It helps to probably figure that out and maybe understand yourself better, but you need to accept that as well. Like, accept that you have that issue, accept that it's an ongoing struggle, give yourself grace for that. Give yourself room to breathe. Don't beat yourself up. We talked about the wall of awful. Don't add more shame and don't add more guilt because of the insecurity or whatever your trait is that you're struggling with. Let me see. I read that one. The empath who learns to manipulate the emotional state of a partner to avoid their anger can also manipulate their partner for others. Absolutely. Absolutely. Once you learn a mechanism, you always know that mechanism. It becomes ingrained in you, especially if you're not thoughtful, introspective, and thinking about these things. A lot of these things become second nature, reactive. It's not something most times life doesn't give you time to sit there and think about. Like somebody just comes home when you're your child. Somebody just comes home angry or pissed or drunk. You don't get time to sit there and think about, I wonder how I should react to this. So a lot of this stuff just gets bred into your instincts. Think about it like driving. After you've driven for so long, half the time you don't even think about, if you think about, oh, shoot, how did I even get here? I was just driving. I knew I was coming down that same road I go to work. I wasn't even going to work today. I was trying to go to Walmart. We do that kind of stuff because a lot of things, even if they're very complex, even if they're very dangerous, we integrate those into our like muscle memory. They become second nature. We don't even have to think about them. The same thing with our relationships, the way we respond to things. It'll be instinctive. You don't have to think about it. It'll become like our like blood flow, breathing. It's involuntary. A lot of this stuff becomes involuntary until you can tap in and learn to regulate some of this stuff yourself. Thank you. High school in the 90s. Flannel's always a good choice. Thank you. Let me see. Let's move on to the next slide because we are getting ready to close up. This one last concept on the one up, one down.
See, when you can't sit with your emotions,
never
you
mind.
end up out of control in your life because you don't control what you feel. You just control what you do when you feel something. And so if my whole life is lived in reaction to my emotions, other people get to control me because if they can evoke an emotion, they get to control my behavior. And this is what we feel like sometimes, right? So you get into these relationships, these toxic relationships, parents, significant others, friends, where they make you feel a particular way and they manipulate you. They're emotionally manipulative. But someone can only be emotionally manipulative if an emotion within you leads to a behavior. As long as that link is there, you can be emotionally manipulated. But the moment you are able to be with an emotion and not react to it is the moment that you will be free of all emotional manipulation.
And that's what Greg was talking about. When Greg was talking to me about fear and I didn't get it at first, that's what he's saying. If you can free yourself of the automatic trigger of that emotion, if you can sit with the emotion and think, you can, there's a freedom to that can allow you to think through, process, discover, in spite of whatever the situation is. But again, it doesn't mitigate, because when we talk about physical violence, it doesn't mitigate physical violence. But your ability to think and figure and plan and all that kind of stuff, your brain is, yeah. This is what I'm saying. Get the stick, kill the monster. Yeah, but you know, you was talking about parents. You can't kill your parents. Let's look at power dynamics again. But okay, this is the last portion. Because again, we talked about the one up, one down. Narcissism, empath, parent, child. These are all like top, bottom, top dynamics. But this is something I like to think about when we talk about like virtues and vices and being balanced. This is something I look for. But real quick, man, thank you, Dan Eek, for the support and the love, man. I ain't dropped my brother Umar in a minute, man. Because you know, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, the HVAC needs to be inspected. I'm making fun of him just a little bit. What did he say? All the renovations are done. Now, y'all, I need y'all to help me with this one. He said all of the renovations are done. But then he said they still needed to paint, lay tile, move furniture in. And to me, that means the renovations are done. But again, he said the renovations are done. So y'all tell me if that means, if you still got to lay tile, carpet, paint, and move furniture in, are the renovations done? Or is that considered a remodel after a renovation? I don't know. Let me know while I play this. Thank you, Dan Neek, for the support of the channel. Real quick. Thank you.
The Prince of Pan-Africanism is back, showing love to all my donors and supporters. We've been at it for 2 hours and we still got donations to go through.
I'll take that.
See, I get love. Y'all focus on the hate, I focus on the love.
Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
I got another donation. Donations.
Wow, that's a lot.
Gifts. More gifts.
Wow, thanks.
Thanks again to Danny and the people that popped through on my birthday too. Nova, She Diaries, And Nate, thank you for the birthday love as well. So appreciate all of y'all for donating to the channel, man, helping keeping your boy, streaming and all that good stuff. But much appreciated. Now, this is Aristotle's golden mean. It's something I think about quite a bit, but this actually, when I was putting this together, it made me think about this differently. So I wanted to share it. A lot of times we'll think about like, and I'm just pointing out the polarity of this. The parent, when I talked about transactional analysis, the parent and the child, you see those on the left and the right, child on the left with the one down, the parent and the one up on the right. And you see the plus and the minus for deficiency and excess. So we're talking about, again, a spectrum from positive to negative. And we're still talking about transactional analysis. Boom. I knew something. I was like, let me get started early because something's going to happen. If I wait till 3 o'clock, to stream, something's going to happen. I knew it. The computer just shut down. It just restarted. Now, I don't know if it was the antivirus. Antivirus might have run a scan and I wasn't looking. But yeah, it just restarted. It was Nova. Oh, man, let me find out where I was.
Have to be like this.
You control what you feel. You just control my behavior. And this is what and they manipulate. You can be emotionally manipulated. But
done. Good. Boom. Okay, cool. Boom. So again, the power dynamics, polarity, whatever way you like, left to right, it's a spectrum of top to bottom. If we reoriented this, it would be top to bottom, left to right, however you want to orient it. Just visualize it however is best for you. But again, in the middle, we typically think about balance as that place in the middle. And I'm going to show it without the words over top of it. And then we'll wrap up and be up out of here. Right around 2 hours, man. This was nice. Okay. That's what I like. Come on, move along. Come, said move along. My computer ain't going to give me much more time. Hurry up. Move it. All right, cool. All right. Now, a lot of times, even before I worked on this, before I was working on this, I always strive. I strive in most areas to be in that balance section. I strive. But what I thought when I was rethinking it, when I was going through this, and I was like, it's regulation would be able to move between states. Regulation, if you do happen to land in a place that's more, because I see like stuff like where it says a deficiency, like secrecy. Sometimes secrecy is necessary. Loose lips sink ships. Relationships, friendships, associateships, all kinds of ships. Loose lips sink ships. And sometimes loquacity is needed. Sometimes whatever. Being loquacious. Sometimes you need to speak up. You need to be able to be open and honest and just, sometimes you need to divulge. But for the most time, you just need authenticity and honesty. which is the balance. So for me, what I learned, and I remember I gave this example, for me, balance is kind of like us humans walking. We are not like a bicycle with a center point of gravity. Like we're not on like one peg or one wheel. We balance by placing it between, we plant down on two poles, the excess and the deficiency, and we keep our center mass over top of the balanced area, but we kind of go back and forth with the deficiency and excess. I'm using the left and right leg as deficiency and excess. So I kind of see balance more along those lines of being able to move back and forth utilitarianistically between what's useful in the moment. I should be able to, again, I use the car transmission. I should be able to move as the situation calls for between secrecy, honesty, and loquacity, whatever. I should be able to move between pride, modesty, and humility. I should be able to move. Maybe it's a lazy day, sloth, ambition to move forward. And then there might be a time to get ready, greed. You might need to hoard sometimes. So we need to be able to move. For me, this is my perception, just me. We need to be able to move between these states fluidly. We need to be able to move between phases, move between states. What is it? I can't remember. What is it? You've got people, sometimes you need to be rash. Sometimes you need to be able to jump head first into something. Then courage, like moving in spite of fear. And sometimes you need to back down. You need to submit to that fear. So I really think, though, when we're talking about power dynamics, you need to be able to inhabit the parent, the adult, and the child zones and be able to move as the situation calls for. Like even in a conversation, you're moving back and forth between like the speaker and the listener. That's a one up, one down. That's a parent-child. It's the same energy that we use these tools all the time without thinking about them. We use these energies and power dynamics all of our lives, but we don't often give thought to them. So I just wanted to give thought to those power dynamics today. Say that people who are on the top end of a power dynamic are not necessarily monsters because they use their power, the same way the people on the bottom are not powerless. They just have a different orientation of power. They manipulate, they seek, they do all things. They're not monsters either. We're just people trying to move between polarities. We're just people trying to shift and connect and balance and trying to fill in puzzle pieces. So I just want to bring a little bit of humanity to the conversation, because when I sat there and listened to all the evil and monster, it helped me bridge these thoughts that I hadn't yet connected. Because I had all these feelings and stuff, and I was like, I've heard all these different things before, but when that last conversation from Nelson Media helped me, okay, now I see what I was going for. So hopefully it made sense to y'all the way it connected in my mind after I'd heard that conversation. So I was able to lay this out. I hope I've made a strong case that, narcissist doesn't mean evil and monster. And the person who's on the other side of a narcissist, especially people who are chronically dating and marrying a narcissist, they're not innocent. They're not victims. They're willing participants in a dynamic that feeds a part of themselves, that they look for, they seek it out, and they manipulate within that relationship just as much. So again, hopefully I've laid out my case. If I haven't, I'll give you your money back. And if I have, maybe, again, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to offer another perspective. Make you think about it a little differently. So, but I really do appreciate all of you. Harris Tribe in the building. I don't know if Mr. He Said is going live today, but I did want to try to come in earlier, not just because of my tech. There was a few things. Again, tech, I was like, oh, shoot, Mr. Harris be going on. Mr. He Said he be going on live around between 3 and 4 p.m. He might be on there. Check out Mr. She Said tomorrow, Shame Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Otherwise, man, that's it for me. Boom. I can get up out of here. I think that was it. Let me make sure. Thank you, Uncle R. You're welcome. Balance isn't always being centered. Okay, that's what I wanted to admit. Okay, here's the thing. Because with that golden mean, I like to use the golden mean, but I did find out that that's a logical fallacy too. Like asserting that given any two positions, there's always a middle ground. There's always a compromise that needs to exist. That's why I kind of wanted to say like that walking mechanism, because the middle is not always the best place. The middle, because sometimes if secrecy is needed, being honest is not always the best thing to do. So I wanted to admit that there were flaws to my centered, always balanced thought process. Being able to navigate between states as necessary. That's regulation. That's functional. Boom. There are no good or bad people. Everyone is both. Everyone has full capacity to be all things. And what you choose to operate in, I mean, that's going to determine your character. What you operate the most in, that's your character. That's just who you are. You are what you consistently do. I don't know who I heard that from. You are what you consistently do. So if you're always operating in the negative, always operating in dysfunction, I mean, that becomes who you are. Your reputation precedes you. But shit, I think I'm gonna head out of here. Monday, me and Bree are doing. Oh man, I can't wait for this. It might not even be fun, but I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna pull out my pink wig. Me and Bree, I am Bree Nuff. I'll be Kenneth, because Barbie and Ken. I am Kenneth, so I am Bree Nuff. So we'll be doing that on Monday. We're having a chat about the Barbie movie on Monday. And I actually want to have another spiritual conversation about like spiritual principles soon. And I still got to get the crew from Let's Talk the Better Black Life together. But I haven't, my days keep shifting. I was supposed to be doing something today and tomorrow. Both of them got canceled last minute. Because I would have tried to schedule people for the day. If I knew my weekend was going to be free this weekend, I would have tried to schedule them this weekend. I got let down. So I kind of want to try for next weekend, but I got a feeling like the way things are going, next weekend ain't gonna work either. But I got another game. I have a board game. And because just in case I never do it, okay, I'm gonna give y'all some sneak previews today. Some sneak previews. All right. It's a board game. Give me a second. Where did I put it? Give me a second. Sorry, this is not the board game. This is something. This is also another thing. I made this. Oh, I made this so many months ago. So I was actually going to have a show where we judged, and I know it might have honestly been from Chef Shapino because he talked to me about a show a long time ago and I forgot about it, but it must have stayed in my subconscious. I was actually going to have a judge show where we kind of like judged, where we judged cases. Oh shoot, where's the overlays? That's the background. I'm changing the wrong thing. Okay. So like you can have somebody swearing, like you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yeah, we had fun. We did it one time at Discord, but I never brought it to YouTube. This will be for the judge. He can sit up here. Yeah, it was gonna be fun. But I left all that stuff in StreamYard. But a board game. Now this one, I was doing this one for. Now listen. Don't react too strongly to the visuals, okay? Don't react too strongly to the visuals. So I wanted to do this for the Christians because I know I gave my Christian folks a little bit of hell. My Christian folks, I came for y'all. I know I came for y'all. Because I got my problems with Christianity. And a lot of people that Let's Talk the Better Black Life have a faith practice. I said Christians, but I mean people of a faith practice. It might be Islam, it might be something else. But there are people that have faith practices that I kind of, I'll be getting into my faithful people. I'll be trying to give them a little bit of Hades every now and then. But I wanted to make that up with having a nice little game show. I have 3 sets of questions. So that way people don't have to be pegged into a certain lane because everybody's not a Christian. But most people have a faith practice. So I have multiple questions that allow for a different path. Not everything's about Christianity, but the board itself is definitely kind of Christian driven. All right. So hold on. I want to play this. But I do need somebody. I need somebody. You don't even have to cam up. I need somebody to hit the link so y'all can see how the people end up on the board. You can stay cammed up. You don't have to mic up or anything. But I made this little StreamYard board game. So answering the questions, you get to either move yourself up towards salvation or you get to move an opponent towards judgment. So that's my thing. What is up, Greg? Oh, shoot. That is hilarious. Let me see. So let me move Greg. Oops. Let me see. Cancel. Give me a second. This card changes. So right now he's already in salvation. I'm supposed to have him start. Boo, boo, boo. StreamYard is acting stupid, but boom. So now I'm going to put him in closer to start. So boom. So I'll be able to move people up and down on the board. I mean, fairly quickly. That didn't take too long, but StreamYard is acting a butt right now. But move people up and down, have them answer questions. They move up and down and stuff like that. So I've kind of made up a StreamYard board game, and I made this board just to be kind of playful, but it'd be for like the people of faith that I wanted to have the question. But yeah, it's all good. We got Greg up here, so appreciate you, Greg. Thank you for popping up. But that was it. This is going to be a board, and people will move up and down the board. Thank you. So that's what I want to do with the Let's Talk to Better Black Life crew. And again, I got 3 sets of questions. One is completely open-ended. There's no wrong answer. It's just based on you. So you automatically get that point. But the other people can still knock you back. Even if you answer well, when it's their turn, they can still move you down towards judgment. So I thought that'd be fun. Something to play. It'll be playful. And if they answer those type of questions, we get to know people a little bit better. Some of them are trivia and like trivia questions too. So, I mean, everybody doesn't have to have Bible knowledge. And some of them are the last component of that. I have some questions that are multiple choice where all the answers are correct, but I'm going to do a chat poll. And whatever the chat says is the right answer is going to determine if the person that answers the question up here gets the right answer. So that's what I want to do with that. But because I am so bad at following through on the things I plan on, I just wanted to show y'all that. Because it may never happen. It may never happen. I'm just bad at following through. I didn't get the passing the bar done. So I may never get the game show together, but that's what I want to do. We played it once so I could see how it worked, and it was cool. Are we getting pegged? No pegging. Yeah, thumbnail is epic there. Thank you. I love it. I love that thumbnail too. Yeah. So I think it should be fun. It's playful. And again, I know at least 1 or 2 people are like, "Ooh, I'm not a Bible scholar." It won't be a whole lot of Bible questions, and I wanted to make sure there were multiple. You could choose the type of question you want. That way, if you're nervous about like having Bible knowledge, you could answer a personal question about your faith practice or something like that, and you can still participate in the game. So it's open. Is there another Greg or is Nova? Oh, that wasn't you? Oh, shoot. Nova, you bad. You're so bad. Yeah, so that's what I want to do. I want to have it like at a 5 p.m. on a Sunday, something like that, 5-ish, 6-ish. So it's like towards the evening, but not too late. Because some people said they had issues earlier on Saturday, and other people had issues at night on Saturday, but right in the middle, I thought that might be decent. Is this really OG Patrice, or is this Nova again?
It is OG Patrice in the flesh. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm okay. First of all, I want to come up here and wish you a happy belated birthday because I missed that. But yeah, happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah. Did you enjoy your birthday? Did you do anything special?
I did not. This was not the year to actually I wasn't going out. I've kind of lost a lot of my friend grouping. So it's this wasn't into anything. So I just hung out. Had pizza. Yeah, just chilled out. Nothing special.
Cool. Okay, so this game, because I think I understand your concept of where you're going with it. Do you have a little sample of it, right now, like a sample question? I'll be your guinea pig.
Oh, let me see. Is this the right one? Where'd I put them? Let me see. I've got another set in another room, but there we go. This is for the line of questions that do not have a right answer. This is you cannot get this answer wrong unless you just don't answer. So
okay.
Who has had the biggest influence on your faith? So this is I got a whole deck.
Okay.
Yeah, so cool. There's no wrong answer, and it just allows us to get to know you a little bit with one of the biggest. It was my pastor when I was 7, and whatever it is, it allows people to participate, and even if they're an atheist. It could still be, man, when my grandma died, I was I knew there couldn't have been a God. Maybe that was your biggest influence. So everybody can participate on this end if they don't want to do the trivia style questions or the ones that allow the chat to influence the answer.
Okay, well, shoot, give me some 5 samples. Let's do some. Let's right quick. Make it kind of interesting. Let me see.
What is your earliest memory from church, OG?
My earliest remembrance from church is definitely going to church with my dad, and especially like on Easter Sundays when I was into the church and Easter and dressing up, and just being a part of the children's program for Easter. So that was like my biggest fondest earliest remembrance.
Okay. Yeah, Easter's a big one. All right.
Yep.
Does suffering help us?
Woo. You know, the this gonna be an interesting answer. The Bible talks about long suffering and how, I guess some suffering, can be good or helpful to us in lessons learned. So I guess it's two-part. I guess it's a yes and no, because if you still continue to suffer without learning and making change and learning from that experience of suffering, and you continue to endure in the suffering, then I would say no. And it's just like you was talking about, even with the empath. I knew early on, and I knew that I became an empath because I grew up in a community where they have empathy for others, have sympathy and empathy for others, do for others. So I was raised to always give back, and that's how I raised my son. And I think that can kind of create a person to becoming an empath, because when you see people like in certain positions, you want to help them in any way you can. So I know that's probably what created me, the empath that I am. But recognizing those things and early on, and not like you saying, I know, because I am an empath, I cannot afford to allow myself to get in any type of toxic relationships, if that makes sense. And I never did until I got involved with this narc and not seeing the signs and knowing what they were. So, and thank God, it was only a few months, right? Like,
yeah,
I got out of it early. So I would say,
That's good.
now if I continue to repeat that cycle, then that's when you be
Right.
up here having a conversation with me saying, Patrice, what's wrong with you?
Yep.
You know what I mean? You keep drawing these, these narcissists. Like, are you? So I exactly, I agree with you on that part. But
Yeah.
it's at some point you got to love yourself more than love being abused by someone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something we just have to learn. If we like a deck of cards, if you keep drawing the same card, something's going on, because that's not normal. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Right.
If you pull from a deck of cards 5 times and you get, and this isn't even possible, you get 5 aces. Something's funky, something funky in that deck, because there's only 4 aces.
I agree.
Yeah, so if you get 5
It's some cheating, or either it's something. It's something you doing or something. So I agree with that
So
perspective.
yeah, if you end up
Give
with
me
5
another.
narcissists,
Give me another one. Hopefully that'll be the first and the last for me.
absolutely.
Short lived.
So do you believe that you can have faith and fear at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have faith, as a person that do believe in the creator, right? I have faith in certain things. I have faith in certain people as a human being. But I have fears. I like, literally, as long as I've been performing my whole life, I still get fright stage. So I do have fears. And sometimes the bigger the stages I have performed on, the more frightened I get. So absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if wicked people become wealthy but sin, should you even try to be good?
Wait, repeat that again.
If wicked or evil people become wealthy even while they're sinning, should you even attempt to be good? If they're getting all the success even while they're sinning, why should you give effort to be good?
Meaning the person?
Yeah, like OG Patrice, why would you be good if all the evil people keep winning?
Oh, well, I think if you're just a good person, it's automatically in you to be a good person, whether you have money or don't. I think sometimes money can create the monster that you really already are. Because if you are a wicked person without money, when you get money, it's just going to make you even more wicked of a monster, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I do believe money is an amplifier, so definitely. And let me give you this
Yeah.
last one because this is an introspective question. What
Okay.
positive did you learn from your wilderness season that you can tell other people?
My wilderness season.
Yeah, time when you were going through the wilderness, a part time of your life where you would consider yourself going through the wilderness. What's
Well,
something that you learned?
oh, you know what? This situation with like it's been almost a year since I was in that relationship with that narc, and I thought that I was really cool and okay, right? Until I started having conversations with him again, and then his new supply that triggered me, Arshawn, and I didn't even know that that was even still deep down there. So there were some unresolved issues that I hadn't dealt with. So I think things like that. And now, hey, I'm back in therapy. So,
Yeah, that's a positive.
because I want to be well. You know what I mean? I want to be well. My mental state, my psyche, my emotion, and all of that's important to me. And, and I want to be a well, mentally and emotionally woman, for whenever that right man comes in my life again. So I cannot go into another relationship when not dealing with that. And I realized that. So I think that that's definitely it was a plus for me and helping me realize that in myself.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good. And I think a lot of people need to hear that because that's kind of like what happened to when I was talking about today. You can get in another relationship, and if you don't recognize the patterns, like of how you, like if you didn't recognize how, when you said it triggered me, if you didn't recognize your triggers, because some people are unaware, they just get volatile or they get shaken or they get anxious. They don't know why, they just do, but they're having a trigger or a response to something. But you say, oh no, I'm being triggered. This feels familiar. This is from my relationship. Let me go and talk about this. Let me go and get this worked out because I want to be well. But some people don't even know enough to know when they're unwell. So that is a positive, and you get to take the steps you need to help work on that trigger. So I mean, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't, I didn't deny myself for that. I didn't kid myself with it. I was feeling some type of way. And even though this narc series that we doing, over there on Bro Clarence channel has been a great help to me because I learned a lot of things from the narc's perspective, meaning the guy that we've been interviewing that is a diagnosed narcissist. I've learned so much from his perspective too, but I had to learn things from my perspective of being an empath of how to protect my peace, how to protect my emotions, how to protect my mental health, how to protect my psyche from that type of abuse. When you're not used to it, it's like a culture shock to your system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not knowing what to do with the emotion and the feelings and stuff like that. And when you don't have nobody to talk to, the best person to talk to is a therapist. I'm telling you, like, because they are not gonna judge you like maybe the way your family or a friend will. Like, they're a stranger. So to them, you're a case study that they're trying to figure out what made you get triggered, what makes you tick. Like you said, talk about something in your childhood with the trauma or whatever, or something that may have even stirred and triggered that up in you. And I had to look at that too. And I was like, wow, it's something else that's deeply rooted that goes back to something. It's always something that's connected to something, Arshawn. You know what I mean? And when we can recognize that in ourselves, like you say, you recognize, I hear you up here talk about the things about yourself that, that you deal with and you struggle with and you feel lack thereof in. So I'm glad that, you up here having these type of conversations because it makes it seems real. It makes it seems tangible, and it makes people realize they're not the only one. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for coming up. I do got to try to get you and Vaughn Bryan in the building. I do got to get you and the crew in here. So if next, I'm going to aim for next Saturday, everybody, for the board game around 5.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun. That sounds like fun. Yeah. I love to do that. Just email me and let me know when you're ready.
I will.
And thank you for letting me come up.
Oh,
okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yep, cool beans. Thank you. You take care now.
Thank you, OG. You too.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
That was the incomparable OG Patrice in the building. It's the OG Patrice for me. So yeah, Vaughn Bryan and they getting new growth. Rico said he was down, so I want to get the crew from over there. Let's talk to Better Black Life. So I want to have Let's Talk to Better Game Night, or Let's have the Better Game Night. I want to do that with them. So just have a little board game night, and it's playful, a little competitive. Split them up in teams of 3. If Bro C responds, he'll be here. Otherwise, I'm gonna replace him with another hatted person, Yella. So we'll have one hatted person or another hatted person. So we'll have one or the other. There will be a hat in the building that can be, tossed up like in Alabama. We'll do that. So hopefully all of y'all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Please check out anybody that's follows Bree. She'll be doing Otaku Talk with Twan tomorrow. So she's back. She's moved. She's doing her thing. So she'll be here Sunday. Not here. She'll be on her channel over there. She'll be on her channel. I think this is it. Let's see if Nightbot does it. I believe this is her. Will that work if I'm not cammed up? It will. It'll just have that picture right there. It'll be the gray box with your picture. Yeah. As long as we can hear your voice and you can answer the questions. Yeah, it doesn't look like Nightbot's working. So she'll be doing, I think, Otaku Talk tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, I think was when she typically does that. Monday, we'll be here on Critically Drinking, 5 p.m. Eastern for the Barbie Talk. Because again, I just love that. I don't know. That oh man, that thumbnail was so beautiful to me. I love that thumbnail. I love that thumbnail. I love that thumbnail. Anyway, that one was perfect. I got very few thumbnails where I feel like it was perfect. That one I feel like was flawless. So that will be Monday. And then I still want to do a spiritual talk about something. I just haven't had any spiritual discussions lately with anybody. So I feel like that's missing. So cool. I might do that on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Maybe not. You got a face for radio? Stop it. I don't believe that for 1 second. So that might be Tuesday, but I wanted to get a few more streams in August before the month turns. For September, I don't know exactly what's going to be happening because again, my computer's rebelling. My computer is like done with me. I don't know what happened. I reset it and it got worse. Like half the memory is missing. So I got to figure that. I got to open it up and figure. I don't know. It's a mess. But because all that's happening, I'm putting off doing anything until I get a few more streams and then I can like step away and try to get stuff figured out. But thank you all for hanging out with me and spending time with me on your Saturday. I think Yella might be live. Go check out Yella over there on Twitch. Boom. I don't even know why I tried that. Nightbot didn't answer the last one. Movie made me mad. Yeah. No, Yella's work. So I didn't call. Hold on. So Yella's work. But it's not hot in here. This is a nice little temperature control room. I'm cool. You see how big as I am, I'm not sweating. Okay, cool. So cool. There's Bree's channel. She should be doing some anime talk. I know a lot of my people do not watch anime. Dr. Johnson, let me tell you, Dury, I reset my computer. I lost my goatee. So I can do Dr. D. Rashawn Johnson, but he's not going to look like an adult. He's not going to look like an adult. It's just not going to be the same without the goatee. The goatee balances out the glasses. So I don't have a goatee. I struggled to find a new filter. Because Snapcam and Snapchat are done. If you didn't save your stuff and when I reset my computer, I lost it. I don't even know what that is. Oh, a temperature monitor. No, I do not. So you meant the computer's heat. See, I'm slow. I thought you meant the heat outside was affecting the computer. Like it got so hot in here because of the heat outside. But yes. Actually, I didn't know because when I bought the computer, I did not know what to look for. So I now have a new understanding of what I didn't know before. This one has a poor ventilation system. So it has a decent fan, but the ventilation is improper. So where there should be cutouts to allow for the flow of air, they have notches where they should have cut it out, but they did not cut it out. In this model, for some reason, they just have impressions where they should have cut it out, but they did not cut it out. So it's really stupid. Anime is life. Anime is dope. Anime is dope. Don't sleep on anime. Absolutely. So appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. I am going to head out. This is like what my 5th time saying I'm about to head out. Look, I'm about to head out. One last preview. When I do, am I in the right thing? Yeah. We got a few board games too. There's a couple that me and Yellow were toying with too. Because he has a music trivia one. I don't know. We just want to do some fun stuff. We want to do some fun stuff because all these serious talks about like relationships and it's getting annoying. So I've got my Derek and Danae narcissism empath stuff out of my system, so I should be cool. The only other serious talk I really want to get out is the one about the victim, the drama triangle, the hero, the villain, the victim. I want to go in depth with that one, and then I can let that go. And I think that's the last serious one I want to have. But this is going to be my outro for a religious talk. Not religious, but spiritual. Anything biblical, anything spiritual. I'm going to play this outro. And I'll see y'all next time.
Wake up out of your sleep. Wake up out of your sleep.
Stop it. Get some help.
But would you shout tonight for what God's gonna do in 2020, in 2021, in 2022? You gotta shout for the next 3 years.
Coronavirus! I'm telling you, shit is real! Shit is getting real!
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I am the truth. I said that shit before, and somebody say that I'm blasphemous because I said that I'm the way, the truth, and the light. Yeah, because I am the truth. I speak the truth. In order for me to be the truth, right? I got to submit to the truth, and I have to become that. I am the truth.
Wrong.
What's wrong with you, black women? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
Why?
Nah, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna end this goddamn thing. Look, where's that goddamn money bowl at? Who got that money bowl? We taking that money right now before you leave this bitch. We ain't leaving out here for free, motherfucker. Where that money bowl at?
And the good book tells us if you want to live like Jesus, we have to give like Jesus. So let's start filling up those baskets, y'all. All right, because the church is in need, brothers and sisters, in need of a new roof, in need of a new robe for the choir, in need of an outdoor pizza oven.
Wait, what's that?
Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Thank you everyone for critically drinking. We are so grateful for your continued support and viewership, and we know we wouldn't be here without you, so we really appreciate you choosing to spend your time with your favorite dime. We hope that you're enjoying the show, and we promise to keep bringing you refreshing conversations week after week. Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, now, you asked me how I felt. Imagine a used dish rag in your head. Picture it. Now imagine feeling like that.
Okay.
Yeah.